Welcome to the Scale Model Podcast. In this podcast, we aim to entertain, inform, and promote the hobby of scale model kit building with interviews, reviews, and news about the hobby. The Scale Model Podcast is currently recorded bi-weekly and is available where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, as well as our website at www.scalemodelpodcast.com. Let us know if you have any comments or suggestions at scalemodelpodcast@gmail.com or at our Facebook page at facebook.com/scalemodelpodcast. We also publish extra video content on our YouTube channel, and we also have a Patreon page at patreon.com/scalemodelpodcast. The money raised will be used to help offset web hosting and other costs. As the podcast grows, we hope to introduce giveaway and other bonuses to our Patreon supporters as a thank you for supporting the Scale Model Podcast. Welcome to episode 29 of the Scale Model Podcast, sponsored by Goodman Models. I'm your host, Stuart Clark, and I'm here once again in the deep, dark recesses of research lab number 28A, I believe we're in tonight, at Goodman Industries with Mr. Anthony Goodman.
Hello, hello, hello.
So yeah, this is the whole new research lab. It looks a lot like the old one, actually.
They're all disguised.
They're all disguised? Okay, good to know. Okay, we're going to get going here. First of all, our apologies for recording this a little bit late, but real life's happened. I've started a new contract, and you're still very busy with the new job, but you're loving it.
Yep.
Yeah, so good stuff.
Putting in the hours.
It's been the hours. School's back in, so, all that sort of stuff.
That's
back to the routine.
Yep.
So first of all, we want to thank our latest Patreon supporters.
Yes.
Of the SMP. I don't want to call it SMP Army, because our good friends down at On the Bench are kind of using that. We'll just call ourselves the Horde or something. We'll come up with something.
Maybe the listeners can
any ideas?
Idea.
The SMP Horde? SMP Herd? SMP, come up with something.
Something good.
Yeah, something good maybe.
The SMP Patrol.
I
don't know.
Maybe. So we'd like to thank our supporters. He just put his first name, Chen. Thank you very much. And Dennis Tennant. So we'd like to thank you for your support. And as usual, we'd like to thank all our Patreon supporters.
Yeah, all the listeners, thank you very much for the support.
Exactly.
And all of our regular Patreon supporters, thank you very much for help keeping us afloat.
Exactly. So since we've been keeping you guys waiting, we'll just get right into it. So this is a bit of old news, and I just checked again, but I know this will make our good friend Ian,
yes,
at On the Bench down in Australia very happy. Airfix made more copies of the special edition of the Henkel 111.
This is a reissue.
Well, this is because they just reissued it like a week or two ago. We talked about it.
Yeah.
So what
I thought it was brand new release.
No. So what? Well, it's brand new release in terms of the decals.
Okay.
So what it is, it's a Henkel 111 bomber.
Yeah.
And what they've done is it was used for artwork for an album cover from Motorhead, which is a huge heavy metal band back in the mid to late 70s in England.
Yep, 80s and big in the 80s too.
Yeah, the album was called Bomber. And the artist took a Henkel 111. He had a model Henkel, an old Airfix 111 that he did, and just put some artwork and did a few other artistic licenses with it. So Airfix released this about 2 weeks ago. Okay. And I remember for whatever reason, I was up at 3 a.m. I just happened to check the email. And they announced it, like on Facebook.
Yes.
At 9 a.m. English time. Within 6 hours, it was sold out.
That's
completely.
Unbelievable.
It was gone.
Oh, wow.
So what they did...
Motorhead Bomber Special.
Yeah, so what they decided to do is they reissued... They said they were going to get some more, and they did. Now, when I first added this link on the weekend, we're now recording on Thursday night, 4 or 5 days, they were still available. And I know our good friend Ian and that they talked about it, too.
I wonder if he snagged one.
I hope he did, because now they're out of stock again.
Yeah.
That's how popular
Ian's a bit of a metalhead, eh?
Yeah,
he likes all the...
Well, Motorhead was a cool band.
Yeah.
They still are.
I think they're still around.
They are. Lemmy's unfortunately dead.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If you ever want something hilarious, they up on YouTube. They took the time to film the service, and his bandmates give some great tributes. It's actually quite fun. But yeah, so this is basically Henkel's tried and true Because it's the 40th anniversary of the album being released too. That's the other
40th?
reason.
Oh, 79.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah.
this is basically Airfix's tried and true Henkel mold. I'm not sure how old this is, in 72nd scale with the extra decals.
Yeah.
One of the things I forgot to mention it last time. So I'd love for an aftermarket or resin company to come out, because if you look at the album art, you see it's got a couple of extra features your stock Henkel bomber never had, like a lower turret. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Some
wouldn't
artistic
it be,
licenses.
Yeah, wouldn't it be
goofy
kind of cool
things.
to
Yeah.
not only have the decals, but if someone did I'm sure someone's looking into it or has looked into it. So,
I think the ambitious modeler could probably get some bits out of the spares bin.
well, because that first turret
make
looks like
it-
a ball turret from a B-17. Just
Yeah.
saying. So,
you could probably dress it up to be
can
more
probably-
album
you could definitely
art accurate.
Definitely do that. So again, and again, we talked about it briefly last week about
Yeah.
licensing and that. So also from Airfix,
huge
and
deal.
this is another equally popular subject that's coming out when it was announced, the 148th scale Tiger Moth.
Yes.
So this was the primary training aircraft they would have used. So they would have used these at our local airport here in London.
Yeah, because we were chatting about these. We've seen these around.
We've seen them around. They're
area.
around. They still,
Yeah.
I don't know, there's hundreds of them around, but they're still
They're probably common. They probably
very
didn't get
common.
destroyed as
Very
readily.
common training aircraft, very
Yeah.
popular. A lot of modelers have been waiting for this in 148 scale. So they've given us a nice little update. That's one thing about Airfix updates. If you sign up for their email list, they're really complete.
Yes.
They really they're a couple of thousand words. I say they're very, very wordy at times. So yeah, it works out. It works out very, very, very well. So yeah, a lot of detail, and it kind of goes through. They have some CAD stuff there, and a good history there.
Oh, there's some plastic shots there.
Yep,
Some
yep. So the test
screw
frames
shots.
have arrived, so they're showing you. So it's really kind of cool. Their Airfix has really opened things up about how the whole industry works. Like
You were
they have
mentioning some videos.
I was mentioning pre-show about
Yeah.
when we talked about it last year about when the Hellcat came out.
Yeah.
They have a lot of behind the scenes of design work. in
It's
that.
neat to see that, right? To
Yeah.
see what goes into making a kit, and it helps me enjoy a little more thoroughly, right? When you
Yeah,
can
and
sort
I
of
think
see.
it makes people realize that this is why some of the kits are a little bit more expensive now
Yep.
than the 99
Oh.
cents in the drugstore way
Yeah.
back.
It
in
takes
the
a lot
50s.
to make this level of
Yep.
quality plastic model kit,
Exactly.
and it's so much more fun to build than
Yep, very
40
much
years
so.
ago.
So yeah, if you're interested in the Tiger Moth, check out the links we've provided in the show notes. Okay, moving on. A couple of stories from our good friends at the Modeling News. We're going to start off with Trumpeter's items for September. Looks like a lot of armor. Basically, it's all armor. So 135th scale, some modern Russian stuff. So the 135th 9A53 Yurgan 1 MLRS. So it's their multiple. It's their newest one.
launch rocket system.
Yeah,
that's
Universal Multiple Rocket Launcher. So this is called the Tornado. This is the latest one the Russians have. It was first unveiled in 2007. Apparently, it's designed to be a more strategic and tactically mobile launcher at the expense of a slight reduction in firepower. So a slightly smaller unit, but looks like it can move around a bit more, which is you kind of tend to want, shoot and scoot, basically.
right. So that fulfills that role.
Because when you get, there's a lot of technology about, there is radar that will track the rockets and they'll figure out where they came from. And then usually when you launch your rockets, that means the bad guy knows where you are and he might be a bit annoyed at you.
Yeah.
So he might send you an equally interesting package back. So again, single decal scheme. But if you're a fan of Russian stuff, this looks quite large.
yeah, this would be a big build for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know about is it says 980 plus parts. I can't quite figure out where all the 980 parts would be. So that may be a typo from our friends at the Modeling News, because it's not like it's tracked or anything. But photo etch parts, windshield,
There's
clear
a lot
parts.
of sprues though.
There is, but it's not
Jeez.
going to be 980 plus. So
that does
it's
sound-
probably a typo. That's all right. So that looks pretty nice. Next up, we have a What If, a Flak Panther with an 8.8 centimeter rocket, basically. So this was based on a design. So this was based on the. It was an anti-aircraft gun designed by Rheinmetall during World War II, and they basically molded that with a surface-to-air missile. So it was designed. It never saw combat, but again, kind of kind of cool looking.
I was wondering if that was real. It's very
It was designed. I don't know if they actually built one. I'd have to look it up. I'm sure someone can tell me. But yeah, quite the nifty thing there. So again, 1/35th scale, 24 sprues, over 1,100 parts because it's individual link tracks. Photo etch parts included, all the normal stuff.
Copper cable.
Yep.
The tow cable. That's pretty neat.
Exactly.
That's a pretty cool subject.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of people that are into the what ifs.
I think they're very interesting.
Yeah. Just like people are into the Lift 46, there's a lot of paper panzers.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, on both sides, both German and, the Allied side.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the M4 command and control vehicle. This is a vehicle designed from BAE Systems. So it's basically a mobile command post. So telescoping mast, primary environmental control unit, so NBC, nuclear biological chemical overpressure system to avoid nasty things getting into the crew. So basically it's based on the standard MLRS carrier chassis, which the Army uses. They have now, looks like there's a contract, was originally to build 5, but the contract is a 3-year option worth $82 million for a total of 46, and deliveries ran through to February 2002. They built 25 in the end before the program was terminated.
Yeah, so this would have been the Afghanistan, or
this would be in Afghanistan,
or even Gulf War II era there.
Yeah,
2002.
Yeah. But again, basically really nice. 222 millimeters in length, 19 sprues. 960 parts, including 184 individual chack links. Where are these extra parts coming from?
Track links. Tracks.
It says. Oh, that's true. There are multiple.
Indy links, right?
And each link is multiple parts, right?
Wow.
Yeah, because that's 184 links. How many parts are on the links per link? That's where I'm saying it says over 960 parts. So there'll be a few there.
So maybe it's a 2-part, like a shoe.
Could be 3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
So 3 or 4 times 184. There's like half the part count right there.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can see them. There's some photos there that the listeners can check out, where you can sort of see
the links there.
I think it's.
Yeah, there's a few other things there. I know some people. You know what? Track links are like photo etch to some people. Some people it drives them nuts. Other people find it very zen-like. I've heard.
I enjoyed it. I did the Indy links for my first armor project last year, and I kind of made my own jig up.
Yeah.
I know there's probably jig tools you can buy.
I've seen. I was looking somewhere, and there's a couple of companies make jigs now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's very helpful. You got to have something.
Yeah.
I set up my my 1, 2, 3 blocks.
There
I
you
used
go.
both of them as in combination to make them square.
Make a jig and make them square. And
Actually, I ended up taking one block and then sort of gluing the parts. They don't need a lot of glue,
right?
But I kind of lined them up so they're straight. But then I took the other one on a flat surface, my machinist block or my machinist granite. Took the 2 blocks and then kind of used the second one to sandwich it to keep them both straight, and just set it aside and did like sections.
Yeah, there's a whole art to that.
I'm sure there is.
I started with, apparently, according to my guys, my local model club who do armor, I started with the absolute worst ones, which were my Dragon Firefly. Apparently they said
multiple.
They're just, I built a jig. It was still, but people said, you shouldn't have done that. You're just torturing yourself. In the end, I got so frustrated. I bought aftermarket rubber
bands.
Yeah, and they worked great. They weathered up fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with rubber bands these days.
There's not, but it was like, people say, So people basically told me, don't let that turn you off. I do have some other ones. I do have some other ones I can try at some point.
It seemed to be a patience. Like, I couldn't get it all done in one sitting.
Well, no, you can't. And that's the thing. For some people, it's very zen. I know some people, I've read about some modelers that they do it. They take a TV tray, go and watch a movie while they're doing it. Like, I
actually had to concentrate when I was doing it.
Yeah, I know, but some other people, different strokes for different folks.
I think I might have been listening to On the Bench at the time, but I had to be looking at what I was doing. But I actually found it harder to mount them. That was trickier.
And that's the tricky part, I remember asking some of our local guys in the IPMS chapter.
Getting them on there.
Just some advice. And again, that's another great reason to look at if there's an IPMS chapter in your area.
Absolutely. That is where you find the knowledge.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. Last but not least from this one is the classic BMD, Airborne Infantry Fighting Vehicle. So this one is one of the latest ones. It entered the service in 2005. Uses the BMD chassis, carries a more powerful armament. So yeah, so basically there's about 60 of them with the airborne troops. So they throw these out of planes and stuff like that. Kind of similar, I guess, to a Sheridan. But yeah, this is quite
These
nice.
have been updated though.
So
I
yeah,
think,
this thing is a 100mm gun and a coaxial 30mm cannon on the darn
So they're
thing.
kind of current.
Yeah, a little bit
up
more
to current
current.
specs.
It can also fire a Bastion laser-guided anti-tank missile.
Wow.
Has a range of fire. The missile, yeah, see, I haven't heard of some of this stuff. I've been out of it for...
Yeah.
Missile has a range of 5.5 kilometers, can also target helicopters. Yeah, that would be... Yeah, that would kind of spoil the Apache driver's day, eh?
For sure.
The 100mm gun has
light,
an auto-loader, yeah.
a light tank, kind of fast and...
Okay, 100mm gun. 10 to 15 rounds a minute. That's pretty on an auto-loader. That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad. So again, nice looking kit if you're into the Russian armor. 350 parts, 190mm in length, 190 in length, 90 in width, copper cable, photo etch, etc., etc.
Clear parts.
Yeah, available coming soon.
Yeah.
So
nice looking kit.
Yeah. So now Hobby Boss September.
What's happening at Hobby
A couple
Boss?
of things, including a Canadian subject, which I know our friends at On the Bench said we would be excited about. Of course we are.
We are.
Because, we're proud flag-waving Canadians. But first of all, we've got this AWACS plane out of China. This is the KJ200 in 1/144 scale. So it's basically it's kind of like the AWACS, but it's a newer design. So basically it's a 4-engine turboprop. But it's got the new types of radar. It was started in 2009. The actual aircraft's called the Y9 that was based on that platform. So basically, instead of a rotating AWACS, when we think AWACS, we think
the
that
disc, yeah.
the disc. But the new ones now are these ones that can be any shape. So this is almost like a side-mounted. So this is an AESA, visually similar to the Saab Erie Eye system. So it's basically a long plug that's across the fuselage.
Yeah.
On top, but
sort of like a pod.
A pod, basically,
okay,
and
an equipment pod.
Yeah, and apparently it's again, they don't know a lot about it, but it's designed for intelligence collection, maritime surveillance capabilities, which is an important thing for the People's Army in China. There's a lot of a lot of
people to keep track of.
Well, no, it's more the Spratly Islands. The Chinese see as all in that area. There's a lot of disputed territory.
Yes.
Them,
Japan.
Korea, China, Spratly Islands, they want to know what's going on. Anyway, 120 parts, 12 clear parts, big plane, 26 centimeters in wingspan. You got a little bit of photo etch there. Yeah, kind of radical looking. There's a few of the newer ones have this sort of radar now. There's some Russian ones too that, again, they're getting away from the radomes. The movable radomes. Okay, next. This is the one Canadian armor fans will be excited about. Another Leopard. This is the C1A1, 1/35th scale.
Pretty awesome. I gotta say, I love the Leopard.
Yep. So this is the one that entered. Yeah. So this basically the Leopard entered service in 1965. Basically, they focused on firepower. So they built a German-built version of the L7 105mm gun. Improved cross-country performance. Etc. And then, full-scale production started in 65. In total, 6,485 have been built. About 4,700 were battle tanks, and the other ones were utility, tow vehicles, anti-aircraft variants.
Yeah.
80 prototypes. That's a heck of a lot of prototypes. Again, I'm sure there's Leopard experts that are probably screaming at us right now.
Yeah.
So 14 screws, 630 parts, 160 individual track links, 2-directional slide molded lower hull and turret. Yeah, nice looking kit.
This is a bit more. This is a modern version.
This is the C.
It says C1A1. I actually think that I
No,
read
it's
something
the
that's not the right. That's not the right. It is. I don't think it's the original. I think it's.
So you're going to start saying stuff and getting us in trouble.
Okay. Well, I'm inviting some conversation on this.
Yeah. So
there's something about one of the. It's not an A1 or something like that. They just have the wrong. I'm going to follow up on this. I'll have some info for us for next episode. But anyway,
right. Or if someone wishes to reply on the Facebook page.
This is
the Leopard one. No, this was the first one. So this was
the markings here.
So what is it? What did it say on the?
It says C1A1, so that indicates some kind of later
upgrade. But see, to me, that would be the Canadian. So that would be the early version because they had a Leopard 1A1 through 1A6.
Yeah.
So the Canadian one, yeah.
So Canadian 1, and then the A, it starts to be the
C1
the upgrades.
equivalent to a Leopard 1A3 in 1978. So that
This
would
wouldn't
be that
be
one.
this. This is not this. You think this is a 70s version?
I think so. I think that's when we acquired it.
All right, we're gonna have
Because
to have a
because we
little
didn't
chat
we
about
didn't
this
pick
for
them up
sure.
until 78. We didn't start
Okay.
buying them until 78.
Right.
But yeah, again, someone please correct us.
And it's got markings for K4, so that's like peacekeeping force.
That's the
but where would
peacekeeping
this
force.
be?
Yeah. Well, for Europe and stuff like that. So starting in 2000,
West Germany, maybe?
So yeah, no, this is the early version because the C1 was upgraded to the C2.
Okay. Yes.
And basically, what they did was they took 123 surplus turrets from 1A5 tanks out of Germany, and they were fitted to the existing hulls. So
and this is prior to any of the
this is the first.
upgraded
This is the
armor.
first. Yeah, this is the first version.
Okay, so it could be this would be then a very late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, because we bought them in 78 and 79. I
That's
remember
awesome.
being very young. Yeah, it's a nice looking tank.
It's very cool.
Nothing wrong with that. So yeah, some nice decals there. So, yeah, I'm sure the Canadian armor builders, because there's been a few Leopards in the last few years.
I know it's been
That's
awesome.
nice.
There
It's
there
really
was
good.
that C1 Mexus, the Mexus armor.
Yeah, so I know a lot
I
of
gotta get.
people.
There was one with the blade, the
Okay.
Dozer blade.
That's right, the Dozer blade,
I forget
yeah.
which version. I gotta build more Canadian stuff. I
There you
think.
go. Exactly.
This is great. I love it.
Yeah. So no, like I said, a lot of good stuff coming out, and it's nice to see the Canadian armor.
Yeah,
Canadian armor represented basically.
absolutely.
So, okay. And
What's
then,
next?
Our good friends at Mini Arts. I punned this one out because we had an auto gyro. We talked about it the last
Oh.
episode of the episode before. So
We were
this is
talking about
the British one.
not Dolly or the one from James Bond. Remember we talked
No,
about?
no,
it?
we talked about another one. This was an actual production one, a British one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one's their second one out of Mini Art. So this is a new 35th scale Focke-Wulf FW30, and I'm not even going to pronounce. You want to try?
The Huishrek?
Whatever.
Huishrek?
I go for it.
Focke-Wulf or Fock? Isn't it Focke-Wulf? Focke-Wulf.
Focke-Wulf. No, Focke-Wulf. That's what I was brought
I've
up.
heard it. I think there's an extra syllable in there. FW C30A.
Right. Now, apparently, it was a licensed builder.
Yeah.
Looks like out of
So this is a real aircraft.
this was a real one. They built 40.
Looks like the 30s.
They built 40.
Or 40s.
They built 40 of them. Issued in December 35th. Yeah, apparently they did it. There were different countries bought them. So Avro had this too. So yeah, so this is why it looks familiar.
Okay, now I see. It looks
Yeah,
like it's
you know what?
from the mid-30s?
I should have read the whole thing. So this is based on the first kit, right? But it's
Okay.
with German markings and some slight changes. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
So
you
it's
got the
meant to
photo
be
etch
like a
parts.
civilian aircraft. It's like pre-World War II
Yeah,
era.
the Germans in
Or
the
is it a-
30s, everything civilian.
everything was
had a-
civilian.
Everything was
Yes,
civilian.
all the
You gotta
Panzers
realize
were
that.
for
Yeah.
picking up groceries.
Well, no, some of the original. No, you know the original Panzer engines. Some of that. Some
Yeah.
of that track stuff. They said they would
farm
mask it by
tractors.
saying farm tractors.
Farm tractors,
exactly.
that's right. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
hear that.
Yeah.
License under farm tractors.
Yep, that's right. They all built. Again, if I just thought I'd point that out, if you were waiting
very
for a
interesting.
German version, yeah, these things are always cool.
That's wild.
It's so
eh?
golden age, 1930s
yeah.
with the autogyros and zeppelins and steampunk stuff.
Really neat. I think it's like those are very it's a really interesting. Yeah, like it's sort of very strange looking, right? Because aviation in general sort of took a different turn.
It did,
and it kind of
Yeah.
abandoned all these really.
Yeah. But it was
fancy,
interesting because we
fancy
had the
ideas.
idea of the first helicopters were kind of, starting to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I think first air helicopters more of in the early 50s, right? But this is
Late
really
40s, late
this
40s,
really
early,
predates
yeah, exactly.
all that stuff.
Okay, moving on. We have AK Interactive. Lots of new stuff as normal from these guys. So huge number of stuff in September. So we're going to start off with their Aces High magazine issue is issue 16. It's going to cover the Normandy D-Day invasion, so a lot of aircraft there.
Nice
Because it's the
lightning on the
75th. Yeah, nice lightning there. In fact, a whole build-up on that.
Oh yeah! Wow. It looks good.
Including five different aircraft in all scales. So, so they've got the Focke-Wulf 190, the Tempest, a P-38, along with a C-47 and a Hellcat Mark 1. Again, full up build details, of course, gorgeous pictures. Now, of course, they're using AK products, including the weathering pencils, which we have and enjoy. But yeah. So it's kind of cool. A lot of stuff, a lot of good detail there if you're interested. That British Hellcat looks very nice with the invasion stripes right near the end of that piece. Okay, and then in their Ultimate Guide series, the latest one is the Ultimate Guide to Making Buildings in Diorama. This is number 9 in their learning series. 88 pages, about 10 euros, so not bad. So again, a guidebook to the creation of like buildings from scratch.
Using sheet stock.
Stuff like that.
Plastic card.
We're actually lucky here in London, in our area, because we've got a guy in our model club, Ron, who just does some amazing stuff like this.
He's always doing stuff just out of
He's got but similar thing. He scratch builds but if you don't have a resource like that in your area, this book
looks like a great guide. These give you some idea. And these
very
books
open.
all have English,
and this
really
this is
nice.
what's great about the clubs.
And you obviously share that knowledge and discuss
subscribers. So he's got a whole things there. So that looks good.
Yeah.
Next up we have, and I believe our friends on the bench will like this. This is some Australian colors, a Oscam color limited edition. So it looks like it's a pack. 3 different paints. You're going to have Australian green, Australian black, and Australian tan. Obviously, there must be a difference between Australian green and British green and U.S. green.
For sure.
Canadian green. Maybe they had extra kangaroos or something. I don't know. I know it
tinted with marsupial.
Maybe. Who knows? A little bit of Foster's in there.
So that's a really big box for 3 paint tins.
It looks like it. Yeah. Well,
so what else
3.
is in the box?
That's it, I believe.
Yeah.
So it looks like. Yeah.
So these are obviously going to be super useful. They've made a list here of like the Australian Abrams, the ASLab,
for their
M113s,
various tanks.
The AS3, AS4, Bushmasters.
And again, I say it tongue in cheek about the color differences. I'm sure there is a difference.
Oh yeah. Well, it looks unique to me.
Again, our colleagues down under who know this stuff.
I'd love to hear their take on this.
We'll have to have their take or one of their specialists. So.
Yeah,
and I always hear good things. I haven't actually sprayed any of the AK real colors yet, but I've heard very good things about it.
Yeah, there are acrylic lacquers.
Yep.
So usually it seems like the lacquers just seem to be a better, in general, from all the different manufacturers.
It's
a better paint for airbrushing with. So
it just seems to be, at least for me, it seems to go easy. Now, as we've talked about before, some people, for example, I love spraying Vallejo primer. Other people hate it.
Yeah.
Some people like spraying Vallejo Model Air or what, everyone's different. But again, it's nice to have these sort of options.
Absolutely. It's nice when you get a custom thing just for your, that specific nation that you want to do some vehicles.
Okay. Also another book, this one on the Iran-Iraq War from 1980 to 88. Modern Conflicts Profile Guide. So this is volume 4 of the series. 140 pages, about 28 euros. Again, probably a nice, detailed, lot of photos of the combatants from both sides, if you're an armor fan. Whole bunch of stuff there. The various towing vehicles, tanks, all the different stuff of the various combatants who had, a lot of mix between Russian and American stuff.
Yeah.
Because, Iran was an ally for years. You even see a couple of old Shermans there, I see.
That's interesting because this would have been post-revolution, right?
Post-revolution.
So it would have been pretty...
they had a mix.
Yeah, but they would have had in their inventory all this weird American stuff, or not weird,
US
but
stuff, M60
usual.
tanks, and exactly.
Yeah, so, M60.
And Iraq at the time was squarely getting supplied by Russia. Yes. So you would have had a lot of XX Warsaw Pact equipment. So very cool as well. Okay, then we have camouflage colors and organizations of the German Armed Forces from 1970 to 45. Panzerwaffe Tanfarben. So this is all to do with Panzer colors. From the end of the First World War to the end of the Second. 128 pages, 27 euros. Again, even a full, what makes up, company and regimental makeups, stuff like that.
Wow, so very detailed about, how it was organized.
Very much, So that looks interesting. And then we have the Worn Art. Looks like a new series. Worn Art Collection. Issue 1 Wooden.
Oh.
So this looks like it's a series of thematic modeling publications which describe different approaches to creating specific effects on your models through practical advantage.
Definitely a weathering
sample. So this one relates directly everything relating to wood.
Cool.
So how to hand paint, how to weather. Yeah, this looks very good too. I could see some of the people doing some of the Wingnut Wing stuff.
There's so much wood in the finishes on those planes.
But even the diorama guys, if you have a look through some of the descriptions,
debris.
even the model railway guys, just saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, so this is a brand new one, and 15
a brand new
euros.
series too.
Yeah, brand new series, first of the
that's
series.
pretty neat.
Yeah, they're producing a lot of different books. Again, obviously, as we've said before, the reference market's still huge. You can get a lot on the internet, but for some people,
Oh man, yeah.
you still want to look it up, and obviously they're
book is so.
they're doing this, and also another book.
It can be a superior format,
Yeah,
but
and they're producing a ton. So this one here, T-54 to the IDF Tyran, The Birth of a Bastard Tank. English, 88 pages. So this is obviously with the Israeli army. So in the Six-Day War, some 860 tanks were captured, including 280 T-54 tanks. And looks like they modified them. Yeah. Within a few years, 146 were introduced as the Tyran 4-5/5. And it tells the whole story. The story of the only army that introduced a great number of enemy tanks into prolonged service. Didn't really suit the needs, but at the time it worked for them.
yeah, wow, that's really interesting. So another good reference
so this
book.
looks like a good little, again, I know people who follow the Israelis have always been innovative. You have to give them that, like them or hate them, you have to give them that. They've done what they've had to do. And then we have the, this is interesting, the Route 66 gas pump. So this is probably a 1/35th scale, I'm assuming.
Oh,
no,
124 scale. Interesting.
So this is,
So this is, there is a price there for our listeners. It's €16.95. So we would say about in Canada,
$1.50 to each.
it's like 40 bucks or so.
So 16, add another 8 to it. So about 24.
No,
€1 is
way
about
up.
$1.
A buck and a half, yeah. So 25.
So yeah, it looks like, well, you know what this is for. This is for the car guys, 1/24 scale. Bunch of good options for decals.
Seems like an interesting choice for AK though, since they really have catered their releases to 35th scale.
So you gotta wonder what's going on there. But obviously,
any cars out there that
they think there's a market, and there's also they're also offering it as just separate decals.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can make it looks like a whole extra set, different ones.
Shell, Premium,
Shell,
Texaco,
Esso, Castro.
Yeah.
I can see that. And they've also got a set of, it looks like they're calling I see the box as like a doozy, where the Scenery Depot Doozy Model Works. This might be a separate company.
I wonder.
So
or a collaboration?
Yeah, 1/24th set of soda cans. 56 detailed resin cans and 24 scale with all the decals.
Interesting.
Including Budweiser, Coca-Cola, 7-Up. Yeah. So,
there's got to be more to this.
Yeah, we'll have to look it up a bit more.
Yeah.
Or again, someone can educate us.
Those are cool though.
So quite a bit from AK this month,
Wow, yeah, they're really
I told you, yeah.
busy.
Okay, Special Hobby. Their newsletter came to my inbox last week for September. Bunch of stuff they're doing. I know one thing that some people have been looking forward to, and I remember they were talking about this possibly last year, but this is their Boston in 1/72nd scale. So this was a twin-engine ground attack and light bomber. And it served a lot, not only with the Americans, but mostly with the British and French Air Forces. In the RAF, they called it the Havoc.
Yes.
But basically, this one here features the one in French service. But they does have 3 in RAF machines. So again, it looks interesting. It's been a while. I built, again, when I was a wee lad, Matchbox, made a fairly good one of the Havoc. Yeah. But it was the one without the front glass. It had the guns built in.
Oh, okay.
The front solid guns. So again, designed as that. Then they have in 1/72nd scale. Have you ever noticed what, the people call it the Phantom 2, the F4?
Oh.
This is why they call it the Phantom 2.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I've never seen this.
This is the FH1. This was the first jet that served with the Marine Corps, and it was called the Phantom.
Marine's first jet. Well, that's an
jet.
interesting little.
Yeah, and it was also one of the first ones that the Navy used too.
Okay.
Didn't last for long, but again, you've got 4 U.S. Marine machines, full decals. You can also get a resin wheel update set for it. Nice. And then moving on, as part of their CMK line, looks like they've got some control services for
master kits.
1/72nd scale Viggen. And then they have the last French heavy tank, the ARL-44. This is in 1/72. This looks like a bit of a beast.
Yeah, it looks like a large kit, a small scale. Though.
Immediate post-war, they just built 60 right after
this was
the
the
war.
50s design.
Yeah. Never the opportunity to be in combat. It was fitted with a 90mm gun and heavily armored. To be honest, folks, I'm sorry, but I've never heard of this before. And then also there is a resin set for the Hudson, the Mark 1 to 5 cockpit. The Hudson's was like a transport aircraft, light bomber, I suppose some people would use it for. Resin kit of a life raft from Revell's PT 109.
Oh, that's sharp.
So again, we've been talking about some PT boats around.
Yeah.
There's also a torpedo tube breech door set in 4 pieces
For the same PT kit.
Yep.
Yeah, those are nice little
and then
details.
We have for the 1/48 scale new Airfix, the Hawker Hunter, some replacement wheels. Vigan Crown Crew for the 1/48th. And then they've also got some upcoming stuff, mostly French. The SO 4050 Voltaire all-weather fighter, that would have been 50s. And the S&B Super Mystère SAR, I think that was based on the Mirage. And then and then also a Aero C3A Czech transport and train airplane. Special Hobbies always has some unusual subjects.
Very focused on European,
but also a lot of stuff that other people don't touch. So it's again there. I've never built one. I know 1 or 2 people that have, and they seem to be fairly happy with it. So
nice.
Okay,
well, we'll keep our eyes on future things from Special Hobby.
Yep. So if we look at ammo. They have a bunch of latest products. We've talked about their solution boxes before. These are the ones that offer an all-in-one, for painting a particular subject, whether it's U.S. armor, German Luftwaffe. Well, they've taken something here, and I quote, solution box, how to paint Imperial Galactic Fighters. Now, if you notice on the box, the fighter is from a certain franchise, which they don't name.
Yeah.
Right? But if you look at the logo and everything, it's, it's kind of obvious what it's for. But this is a whole kit because, again, as we know, Bandai makes a lot of these fighters from Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I know.
It's a TIE fighter.
I've now separated by a sentence, so that should avoid the lawsuit.
You know what? It's interesting because we should look. We're going to look this up, I think, for the listeners, and maybe we should do a show on this because they have an image of a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Probably the model kit, and I bet
probably
you there's no problems
probably
with that.
fair use.
Yeah,
as long as you don't mention the word Star Wars.
It doesn't have the Star Wars logo on it.
Well, it has one that kind of looks like it.
But it says Imperial Galactic.
No, but I'm saying
Fighter,
the kind of the way it looks.
Yeah,
you know what it is.
Inspired by.
Yeah, if you didn't see the TIE fighter there, and if you just saw that, you'd know.
Yes, true.
Yeah, but
I don't
it doesn't mention any
Yeah.
copyrighted works like TIE Fighter.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah, those are all
that's how you
terms,
you get in trouble, right?
Because they're talking about doing an art, like essentially an art project with that product.
Right.
So it doesn't really infringe. Probably.
Actually, what's interesting? I'm just looking, and maybe they did because on the back of the box they do mention TIE Fighter, TIE Advanced,
so
TIE
it
Interceptor.
must be licensed then. To
it
some
must
degree.
be something, I would
We're
assume.
gonna look into licensing.
Yeah, we
How
should.
does
That's a
that
whole.
work?
That's a whole separate thing. We may have to ask some of our upcoming guests about that.
That
because I know in the past there's a whole separate thing. Like sometimes what would happen is particularly fighter planes. Like if Tamiya wants to make an F-16, they can't just make it. They'd have to pay off General Dynamics.
Yeah, it's all properly licensed.
There's different stuff like that. Yeah, you got to be. There's all IP. But anyway, this one, so they've got a bunch of step-by-steps. So they got 3 different TIE fighters, plus the Imperial shuttle. And again, it's got a lot of the different components. I think there's slightly less components in this one compared to the other ones. This one's only €70.
So can we look a little deeper into what
if we look down, you can see, well, it has the products here. So you've got the odorless thinner, the one-shot primer, the varnish, and then a bunch of various gray and like metal slag, white, Starship Bay sludge.
So these sound like washes.
Yeah, the washes are white, Starship streaking, Starship Bay sludge, that's the name of it. Dark gray, aqua gloss clear, stone gray, blue black. Oh, those are the brushes. And there's some brushes. So nearly not as many products, but you do get the solution book.
Wow. There's a lot of products, though.
Yeah. but it's again slightly less than the other ones that we've
Okay.
seen.
Yeah.
And
You're
then
still getting. You're still
getting the book. You're still getting the brushes.
transparent. You're
Yep.
getting the thinner, the varnishes.
I guess you don't need as many colors when
primers.
you're, you know,
If it's-
the Imperial fleet doesn't bother
A lot
with
of, like, naval gray, right?
Yeah, that's basically what scheme of naval gray are we doing today?
naval gray,
Right.
white, black.
Yeah, you don't really get a lot of
2 shades of gray.
Yeah, basically. Oh, it beats 50 Shades of Grey. Oh, let's not go there. So it's available in 4 languages, and they even have a picture of detailing up the cockpit with Darth Vader.
That's cool.
In his
Yeah.
fighter. So
it's the books. I think
it's
the books are really
the solution books on how to do things. Because again,
Yeah.
some people may
Give me ideas.
love this, they may not think about. Even though I think some of the ideas, let's say, can be swapped, like
they're
between
universally
aircraft,
applicable.
Right. But for some
Yeah.
people, this is all they want to know.
And I bet you a lot of people have some of these, like, you've already purchased some, you've got some
Yeah.
washes, you've got some
and I know
pigments.
what they've done in the past is they have released the solution books a couple of months later separately.
Yeah.
I have seen that.
And it's just like getting ideas
Yeah.
how to apply them where,
But
and
for
then
someone
get
who
you
wants to
going.
get into it, you
Yeah.
know, which again, a lot of people
Get a
in the
nice
hobby are
little
getting
set.
back into it.
Yeah.
This is a good idea.
And that's 69.95
yeah,
euros.
Yeah, so about 110.
Yeah.
Which again,
That's not
which
bad.
is about, I'd say it's at least $20 or $30 cheaper than like the Luftwaffe. But again, there was
Yeah.
more.
There's a few more colors
Basically,
involved.
you were getting a slight deal. It wasn't a huge deal, but the idea is you get the book and everything in one stop.
Yeah, that's the key. Is
And
that
that's
it's,
what-
if you are starting out, or if you're just trying to get the tools together, it's just nice to get a complete set of tools.
Mm-hmm. And as
that
we
belong
talked about,
together.
before, when the first one came out, there was a lot of criticism about it.
Really?
Oh, there's
Was
some-
there?
Well, there was. There's some people saying, "Why do I could buy all this separately?" And but again,
Why?
at the
That's
time,
it's a headache.
No, but for
Yeah.
this wasn't really designed necessarily for the experienced modeler.
Maybe,
This was designed
not.
for
Yeah.
a one-stop thing, or someone wanting to get into
or
it. Let's
or
say,
maybe intermediate. You want to.
yeah.
You
Let's say,
get,
for example, I want to
step
start building
up.
armor, and I want to start playing with the oil-based
Yeah, you
product.
need some stuff.
But the other bonus was the book, which wasn't
Yeah.
available generally as separately.
Yes.
And that and they made no bones about that. They actually, they were saying in their things, this
the
is
books
what
are
it is.
key.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are great. These are really good products.
Yeah. So speaking of books, this one actually looks quite cool. So how to paint with oils, and this is a good example.
looking at that,
modeling
yeah.
guide. So 16 euros.
Yeah, not
This
bad.
is one of Ammo's modeling guides, and they cover not only their oil products, but it looks like at least on the cover there's some other oil products like the
like
tubes.
artist oils,
Artist
like the
oils and that.
traditional.
And they talk about, how to do the lighting and shading and, because again,
these are
a
awesome.
lot of people like doing oils because of the slower drying time and
Yeah.
there is good advantages.
I gotta say, I'm loving the oils right now.
I like acrylics, but don't get me wrong. I've also dabbled in oils because there is
Yeah,
advantages.
I'm really enjoying them.
So this is a good guide and this is oils and directly related to modeling. And they talk about their oil brushes and, they've got some good things. I haven't tried one of those yet, but again, I hear good things
brushes,
about the
yeah.
Ammo oil brushes.
And some figure painting in there, which is
Yep.
that's a really neat area,
Yep.
and it's a bit more
Oh, the
complicated.
figure guy, figure folks. I shouldn't say guys, of course. Our previous guest, Kim Taylor, would kill me.
guys and girls,
Guys and girls, folks. I'll
Everyone
say.
loves the
So
models.
so that was good. So that's also out. And then as usual, they have a couple of other sets. So they've got the Luftwaffe pilot's uniform sets, 4 shades of blue. This one here. This is their Ammo branded paint shaker.
Okay,
For
tell me about
37 euros. You get this thing.
this. Okay, how many Canadian bucks is that?
So 37. So
say
add almost 17. Yeah, because it's 50%. Divide it in half and add that.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah. So for that,
We're up
you
on the
can get
$50 mark.
It's a stable base with I love the description, a quickly oscillating device. So the idea is you
Oscillates,
basically
alright.
it oscillates. So you basically put your bottle of ammo or Vallejo paint or whatever. You strap it down, press the button, and away you go. Just like at the start. You know what? And I've seen these sort of things for years. In fact,
Yeah.
modelers have been using because you know where this actually comes from. A lot of it's probably originally from the nail painting world.
Right. I wonder how the pricing compares.
People have already talked about that. Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
interesting to
What
see.
have you heard? Have you heard any hubbub?
Again, it's like anything else. You can get anything from China cheaper. We'll leave it at that. We enjoy our good friends Ammo.
They do make some amazing
They make some, and again, for
products.
some people who don't want to risk going through a no-name Chinese site.
Well, you probably do.
So this is
quality.
Yep. So this is kind of cool. So you can run it. Includes a power adapter, or you can run it on batteries. Includes 3 different paint elastic belts. It's compatible with all bottle types. And the idea is, it says in the little bracket, do not run more than 20 seconds. The other thing I would highly suggest, if you tend to put the type that has ball bearings in their glass paint bottle,
could be
I wouldn't use that.
breakage.
There's been a
risk.
few pictures I've seen over the years.
Yeah.
Of broken
So,
bottles.
Stu, to shake or to stir?
Well, I'm going to say to stir, because we're actually going to cover that in talking tools later. But there is an advantage of this, is because it does work with the smaller Vallejo dropper bottles. I'm
Stood,
myself, when I
shaken.
use my Vallejo, I
I'm
like a
not
stirrer for the
shaker. I'm not a shaker. I don't shake.
I stir the Tamiya's. I stir
everything.
I stir everything, but I can't stir the small Vallejo
Like
bottles.
like a cooking soup.
Yeah, but like these little Vallejo dropper bottles.
Oh, you
The
can't.
ammo and the Vallejo, you
I
can't
don't
get
have
the
any
stir
dropper
in there.
bottles, so
No, so you're fine.
You
But
have to
for
shake
those, some people for the shake.
Or can you just spin off the dropper bottle,
In
stir it
theory,
up, and
but
then
it's
put it back
not,
on?
It's not, and that's where a lot of people they'll put a ball bearing in.
Okay.
But see, these are mostly plastic, so you're fine.
Oh, they're
Right.
not. Yeah, but
Right.
some of them.
But I'm
the
saying that
glass.
for some people, again,
Yeah.
different strokes for different folks.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
But again, it's interesting that they branded one of these, because again, modelers do buy these.
You know what? We should put this out to the listeners. Do you shake or do you stir? Put a comment on our Facebook.
You know what? I think that's our episode title.
Boom.
Shaken, not stirred, or stirred, not shaken.
Shake.
Make a note of that. Make a note of that, please. Anthony's making a note of that, folks. The other thing people talk about too is a lot of people would rather have this in like some sort of cover over it, like when you go to like the hardware store.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the paint
like
shakers have a
okay.
cover that goes over it.
Oh yeah.
In case
those
something.
Are Mondo.
Yeah,
for,
I saw there was a
cans.
picture a while back of someone, basically talking about, don't put a ball bearing in a glass jar and then put it in a power shaker, because he had his modeling desk and then one monitor. It looked like the scene of a murder. Like there was just red paint.
Right, it was
it
red,
was
of
pretty
course.
bad. Yeah, but not to say these again. People do like them.
Interesting.
I know people that do. So again, whatever works for you. Yeah, I'm like you. I tend to use the larger glass bottles. I don't use a lot of eyedropper bottles, but I do know a lot of figure painters. Because if you look at, there's a lot of paint ranges that use the dropper bottles. Mm-hmm. So definitely.
Interesting.
Okay, moving on. We have the Spanish Civil War, the Nationalists Air Force during the Civil War. Again, 4 colors there. And again, just a ton more books. So here we go. Here's the solution book of this one was the IDF, how to paint IDF vehicles. Okay. So they did a solution box a couple of months ago with the IDF. This is just the book.
I gotta get one of these books. I'm struggling
for
with
basically
how to
10
put lettering
euros.
on.
So again, what they do is they release the whole solution box.
Yeah.
Then a couple of months later, they'll release just the book.
And that's great because it gives you the option.
People who have maybe some of the stuff already.
Options.
Exactly.
People love options, right?
People love options. Options are good.
Not too many options.
Not too many, but a few.
But we love our options.
We love our options. Okay, and then last but not least, the winter autumn ground pigment set. So winter and autumn, because cold and humid environments tend to exhibit darker earth tones. Mm-hmm. So this is all their dark shades. So you got the pigment fixer, the farm dark earth, city dark dust, winter soil, and factory dirt ground. But you didn't know there were so many different types of dirt.
We also love dirt, right?
We love
Model,
dirt.
scale modelers.
Exactly.
It's all about the dirt.
Okay, moving on. Hasegawa. Our good friends at Hasegawa.
Hasegawa.
So here's some. Now this is actually November. They're really moving up the calendar. This is their new and limited edition. Uh-huh. So there's a Machine Krieger coming out.
Oh yeah, these are awesome.
This is the Gustav and Muslin.
Melusine? Yeah, these are awesome. These are the
so you probably know more about these than I do.
super fighting armors.
Yeah.
Right?
So
SAF.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super armored fighting suit.
Is that what it is?
SAS,
okay. 1/35th scale.
Yeah,
one looks like it's got like a larger control thing, and one looks like a solid.
Some of them are like space type, and they have like a laser gun armament.
Yeah,
there.
it looks like
they're
it looks like there's 2 types of canopy. It looks like almost the same thing, but 2 types.
Yeah, they had
canopy.
like ground ones, and they had ones that shot like Panzerfaust and lasers and space types with
freaking lasers.
We need lasers.
We need lasers.
Okay. Space types of verniers and thrusters on. These are really cool. And do we have a scale?
Oh, 1/35th scale.
So these actually are not going to be huge. They're going to be like this big.
Okay.
You know? And I'm holding up my finger.
You're holding up your finger. Yeah, you want
3 inches.
3 or 4 inches. Okay. Yeah. For those of you who aren't following along on the video feed, we don't have one.
You can read my mind, right?
Okay, next up is a nice Lamborghini Mira.
That is cool.
P400 SV, 1/24 scale. So yeah, I get out of my Lamborghini. I'm not even going to guess.
This is
60s
70s,
or 70s, yeah.
right? Okay.
Apparently, there also has a sexy Italian young lady in
random
resin.
Italian girl. Wow.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, again, some of the car guys are into the, make it look like it was back then. There's also some 1/24th Hollywood celebrity girls. Add a touch of Tinseltown glamour to your 1/24th model car display. So these ladies look like they're ready to. Yeah, these will look like
they're walking the red carpet.
They're walking the red carpet.
It's legit. I'm okay with it.
They're not in bathing suits or anything.
No, they just look like people.
Okay, now this is an
era clothing.
Yeah, so this is a neat one because I have this kit. I
yeah,
bought this
the
kit.
Shinkai.
Yeah, the 65. I bought this the kit.
So is this a reissue?
Yeah, it looks like it.
But with a
it's
diorama?
seabed diorama at the bottom. Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to work, but yeah, because I bought the original base kit at Heritage Con.
And it was just the vehicle,
just the kit.
On its own, eh?
So this is a deep sea submersible vehicle.
So cool.
So this one has a seabed diorama and a support base. So yeah, that's cool.
They have a little eel or something, an image.
Color printed matter. It's a scene sheet, so it's basically a cardboard sheet.
Okay.
And an acrylic plate, yeah, deep sea creature. So yeah, it looks like you get all of that together. So that's kind of cute. But again, I'd never seen this before. Like Hasegawa does stuff like Voyager space probes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I'd never seen this, and it just fascinated me. I got it for a good price, so that's kind of neat. Moving on, we have, let's see, if we go past that, we go into the VF31 Siegfried. Rena Prowler color movie version from Macross.
Delta.
So the very nice VF31, which I will build one at some point. And this
cool.
This one is personalized to a particular pilot, I assume.
Yeah, the part of the Valkyrie like a squad.
It's a squadron?
Yeah,
okay.
It's a squadron.
Well, you also get a patch for the squadron.
Oh, that's cool.
So apparently a hand-drawn illustration patch by, you want to try it? You were in Japan.
That is
hand-drawn illustration patch by
Nayo Higashiyama,
who was in charge of Reina's voice.
Okay, so this would have been the voice actress who performed the Reina character. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So she's apparently done a patch.
Created an illustration.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
So that's cool. Yeah. So again, nice.
You know what? These have beautiful. A lot of the Hasegawa, or maybe all of them, have really beautiful box art by this guy, Hidetaka Tenjin. People love this guy.
That's one thing I've always noticed.
His artwork
Japanese
is
Gundam and the artwork.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. We can talk about that. Could be a whole show too.
I'm gonna show you something that'll blow your mind. He's like, you know how there's certain box art over the years that you see and it's mind blowing. Yeah, it's been painted by some artist.
Well, we talk about some of the Airfx guy. Whose name just went right out of my head. Forgive me all, but yeah.
And a lot of his like covers from the Macross series. He must do other works. I'm not sure. Yeah. But the Tenjin Macross covers have been like compiled into art books, and they're really good.
There's
like,
some
they're
amazing
really
stuff.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then we have the Kawasaki KH250B3 in 1/12 scale. This is a very popular
70s bike, 80s bike,
78 and 79.
Cool. What a sweet vintage.
Yep, looks very nice. Awesome. And then we have a Mi-24 Hind UAV. So this is like a helicopter, which they've converted to a UAV drone.
But I wonder if it's based on the airframe of the Hind?
Yeah,
so
it is. It is. So you basically have the airframe of the Hind, and where you have the cockpit, they've basically sealed it up. You remember they played around with this with the A10? Remember we saw one like that?
That was really cool. But that was a what-if fantasy.
They were talking about it, seriously.
There's a real one, but we won't know about it.
Yeah, I don't know. But this looks like they're, in theory, it's possible now. You can make anything into a drone now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it seems like it would be.
But you know what?
Practical.
Again, you could sci-fi that up quite nicely.
It is science fiction.
No, but you could like make a diorama, or you know what I mean.
Yeah. These are. I think these are really interesting ideas. These UAVs.
So there you go.
Cool.
So that's all available apparently this month. Okay, moving on. We talked about our good friends at Armortech, at least my good friends, because I have no money to afford their products. These guys make 1/6 scale. Yes, 1/6 scale. metal model kits. So like
This makes me
tanks.
chuckle a little
I know.
bit. Yeah.
So I know we talked about, because they did a Rolls Royce armor car.
Yeah, we
And
looked
you
at
can,
that.
yeah, we talked about that. And what's cool about these products is you can convert them for remote control very easily.
Okay.
And you can have things like, sound effects. You could have
Lights,
lights.
yeah.
You could have the turret, the gun recoiling. You could even
Yeah.
pop smoke.
Wow.
All that good stuff. So they've introduced their newest one they're working on. It's you can put a reservation in now, is the Jag Tiger. So this was a 71 ton. It was the heaviest armored vehicle used operationally.
Wow.
So you basically told a King Tiger
This
tank.
is bigger than a King Tiger.
Yeah, so you started with the frame for that, and then you took out the existing turret, you put a fixed turret in, and you throw in, instead of an 88 millimeter, you throw in a 128 millimeter
Oh
gun.
my goodness.
So yeah,
This is real?
yeah, this was
Tiger's
real.
real.
It was rolled off production line in 44.
Too late?
Yeah, a little bit too late. But this is actually,
wow.
they actually went
What
to
a
the
beast.
Boddington Tank Museum.
Yeah.
And for those of you who know tanks, if you ever make it to England, go there.
And then
You will be
got
very happy.
The designs from and
Well, the actual
measurements
tank
from-
was there. They measured it and all that. So they're making the Henschel torsion and suspension version. Yeah, sold as a kit for assembly. So yeah, this thing's going to be rather big
Let's look at the
and
prices.
heavy. Yeah, the prices will scare you.
Okay,
but
here we go.
Go ahead.
Jag Tiger. What scale? 1/16th?
1/6.
1/6 kit.
1/6.
My apologies. 4,395 pounds.
Yes.
Because
it is metal.
excluding the VAT, which I'm assuming is a tax.
Yeah, value added tax.
Okay, and you can reserve it, and you have to put a deposit of 700 pounds.
Yes.
And it weighs 120 kilograms.
Yeah, you're basically hauling this on
Wow.
a trailer. But you know what? You know what's huge over there? People are into. Guys will get these. They'll RC them up, and they're into it. It's huge, and they'll find a big muddy field, and they'll
Run them through it.
run them through and have sounds and
Yeah.
all that.
Well,
So
it sounds like fun.
you know,
Hey, if you're gonna have toys, you better
if you're
play
gonna
with
have
them.
toys, yeah, 260 pounds, yeah, massive 1.73 millimeters for 5 feet 8 inches, 1,600 parts, and
This
yeah,
is
it's
a
all
real
metal.
interesting thing.
No, but that's not all. You can also get the option packs. That doesn't include all the option packs. You get the motion pack, so the RC, including the electronics, motors, and servos, the sound pack, the recoil pack, and the smoke pack. Adds realistic exhaust.
Well, if
smoke.
you're gonna have toys and you're gonna
If
play
you're
with
gonna
them,
do it, if you're
you
gonna
better
do
have
it.
fun,
now,
too.
now, please note the kit cost. Okay, so basically, if you're in England, Wales, and Scotland, it's £5,200 plus £189 for shipping. You're in most of Europe. It's a little bit more for shipping. Those of us in Canada,
it's a wow.
a little bit less, but then the shipping, yes, it's kind of weird there. The way
$1,000
it's the
to
VAT.
ship it.
No, it's the VAT. That's why the price is less.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, and then if you're in Australia, yeah,
And
670.
those, are the poor Kiwis in New Zealand have to pay
Even further,
789?
But you know what?
pounds
You know what?
for shipping?
You know what? But it's one of those things. If you want it, you don't worry about it, right? If one can,
Suppose
if one has to ask the price, sir,
if you have to have it,
you're gonna get
you'll
it.
have it.
Yeah.
Well,
They estimate
Okay.
shipping. They're hoping for shipping starting to ship in spring 2020.
this is very interesting. Like I
They
would
make
have
some
never.
really cool stuff. They
Yeah.
make like some of the other products I've seen over the years. Like I just noticed at the bottom of the page, they have a Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost engine. Like it's
That's
a
cool.
big scale. Again,
Like a scale
it
model.
runs, it works. But again, there's a big demand for this. We were talking the other day. The other thing that's big in Europe.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
also a lot of radio control. People make radio control construction vehicles.
Yeah.
And big
Civil,
rigs.
yeah.
And
Big
they get
rigs,
together
trucks,
and they get
farm
again they get
tractors.
together at these conventions
And drive
They'll
them.
have like a little bit more than a giant sandbox, but
Yeah.
and they'll play
Like
there.
it's almost like
Quarry.
a course,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where they can
right,
operate
or they can
the
have
vehicles.
they have the front end loader can then put the soil in the dump truck.
It's
and
a
they
pretty
go-
fun take
yeah,
on scale
big boys and
modeling.
their toys.
Yeah.
So again, if one is interested, you can put your reservation in now.
I would have never seen this. Like I would have never anticipated this type of like this little niche.
Look
but
on
sure.
do a search on YouTube sometime.
Yeah.
For these.
Well, we should put the links in for the listeners of
Yeah,
the.
I'll
the
see if I
videos
can
you
find
showed
some
me.
links for that. But it's quite and they're a very well renowned company, Armor Tech.
Yeah.
At
I'm sure
some
it's just high
point,
quality.
I'm going to get them on. We'll have a little chat with them.
All right.
So that would be good.
We'll do
Okay. Getting through these. I told you we had a lot of stuff. So what else do we have? Do we have anything else? Oh yes, we have this one. This one you found. I'm going to let you. I love it. But you found it from our good friends at Hobbylink Japan.
Do I know any people who love models and cats?
Well, I think we know a few of us since our mascot is Mr. Sparkles.
That's right.
Who's not here tonight.
So I stumbled across this. I thought it was kind of fun.
Our good friends at Hobbylink Japan.
Yep, from Hobbylink Japan. It's a 1/6 scale. They call him Mr. Z, the exotic short hair, and he's an ES001. That must be a product number.
I have a thought.
Yeah.
This could be the cat that goes with the tank we just talked about. They're both the same scale.
Oh my goodness.
Think about how big that tank is now when you think about the cat.
So this is like a full model.
Yeah.
Price in Canadian dollars is $73.20.
It's going to be a fairly, I think,
1/6 scale.
It's going to be a good size.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a good size.
It's an injection plastic model kit of a cat. An animal
and
kit.
you can guess paint it as you want. Oh, here we go. Size.
You can
10.5 by 5.7 by 6.5 centimeters. Made of resin.
It's a resin. It's a resin kit. It's not a styrene.
Yeah.
But this is just an interesting.
But you know what this
subject,
is? Because 1/6 scale is a common scale doll scale for dolls. So that's part of the
so it
idea
fits with
that
world. Yeah.
Because you know what? Because the other thing people do. In fact, again, our friends at On the Bench, they were talking about this last week's episode. Mm-hmm. They were talking about battle Barbies.
Oh.
Yeah, that was some people's reaction.
I haven't heard it yet. I got to catch up.
But the idea is
I'll be looking for that.
People will customize dolls and make the uniforms.
Well, people have been doing that for a hobby
like
for
Action
years
Man and G.I. Joe and all that. But
decades,
there's a real high end market for that too. So this is where obviously they're going with because I think there's a big doll culture in Japan, isn't there?
Yes. Oh, big time.
Yeah. So.
Like a collector's customizing, making miniature clothes. It's a miniatures thing.
Yeah, it's a miniature thing.
Same as what we do, just different subject.
Yeah. So this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I did show this to my wife. She thought it was cute.
I sort of thought I thought it was a kit. I didn't realize the doll aspect or that
makes
world,
sense.
But I was like, wow, what another weird.
Which also
design.
makes sense for the big tanks, right? Because you can have your G.I. Joe figure. Sitting in your tank, I guess.
So something kind of fun, unusual.
But yeah, so if anyone gets that, either that or the bigger tank, please let us know.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we are almost done. So now we're moving on to IPMS New Zealand had their annual contest in Christchurch.
Exciting.
So I just threw some links up to a couple of photo galleries with a lot of detail, and it's, as normal when you get these national things, just amazing. Some of the work.
So inspirational.
It's inspirational. There's like a Triumph motorcycle that I just love. But all sorts, sci-fi, aircraft, a lot of figures. Seems to be a very big figure community here.
Yep.
The best in show was a de Havilland DH53. And apparently it's a little tiny thing. It's tough to shoot because there was some commentary about how did this win best in show, but apparently... people who saw it said, yeah, it did in terms of like build up. It's the old judging thing. Yeah. And that's
they're never wrong.
There was a lot of armchair general, shall we say.
Well, come on, people.
But you know what?
The judges there were
I trust what people say. And this thing looks gorgeous.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's a cute little thing. So I did post links to both the IPMS page and at BritModeler.com.
Yeah, have a look.
Someone was nice enough to post up that. You know what? We were talking about 1/6 scale and dolls, and I noticed one of the videos they posted on Brit Modeler. Mm-hmm. If you look at the YouTube thing there, you see there's a example.
Yeah, there you go. Military,
the GI. They'll build the 1/6 Jeep, and they'll put the figures in.
But you notice how they, no matter how much effort they put in, it still has a very toy-like
Still
appearance.
looks like toy-like. I know. I told you.
The boys larger the scale.
The we were talking about that, and I know our boys down under talked about that.
Yeah.
So, again, that could almost be a
models are meant to be small.
Exactly.
Meant to be small.
You know what? I look at some of these, and the ones that really blow me away are some of the World War I Gotha bombers and that.
Oh yeah.
Like there's one here of a German. I'm assuming it's a Goth. Let's look at the rigging of that.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah, again, in the Brit Modeler one, you'll see it there. But again, just astounding workmanship as always. So kudos to everyone who came, and our regards to IPMS New Zealand.
Yeah, hope you had a great show, and hopefully next year's will be even bigger.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. So hot kits from our good folks at ScaleMates. As we said before, the Edouard Chattanooga Chuju, the P-51. Not a lot of new stuff here yet, but most of the general stuff. The Tamiya Spitfire. Kitty Hawk has a new MH-60S with it's a naval version with a big gun on it, 135th. Apparently that's some talk. Mini Art tool set. The AMK Tomcat. You know, the one that was rumored. People are talking about it's out.
Where's the real grade new Gundam? Come on. I
don't know. People are talking about these. I think you need to get some more Gundam folks adding stuff. This is a user contributed
so
database.
Obviously it's maybe a North American focus
and Europe.
And Europe.
Base, yeah, there is some Gundams in here, but again, it takes people to...
I'm surprised because
it takes people to contribute.
That particular one is
it could be a language issue too, right?
Regarded maybe. Yeah, but there's enough English interest.
Maybe, but no, there is Gundams in here, but these are the ones that people are talking about. We talked about the Shackleton.
The Allison prop jet engine.
Yeah,
that looks like an oldie, maybe.
The Airfix Bomber Special we talked about. So all sorts. So yeah, definitely check some of those out as usual. See that Tamiya Sheridan's still there. Yeah, it's calling your name, dude.
Oh, I gotta have one. I watched a really interesting video.
You did?
About I'm gonna find it and put it on.
And throw it up on the link.
Yeah, because it was actually very informative about how it just never. It was such a great idea, but it was poorly executed, and it never really found its role. But it was like innovative for tank design at the time, like with the Shillelagh missile, but they had a lot of problems with like the compartment, the turret compartment would like fill up with smoke.
Hate it when that happens.
Oh my! I can't even imagine. Like, how would you function? In that, like, from the way that it discharged the round. Yeah. But they had all kinds of crazy features like that. The rocket thing, which they only used it once or something. But like not in Vietnam, not in Grenada, maybe in Operation Desert Storm.
Maybe.
But interesting stuff. I'll put the link
up. I see we have some box art now from Wingnut Wings on the Fokker, the DR1 late and early. Those are the German triplanes they're coming out with.
This is a Hermann Göring?
Yeah, there was a Hermann Göring edition, and again, it raised some controversy of who the subject was, because he was later the head of...
Erich Kommandant?
Well, he was later the head of the Luftwaffe.
Yes.
During the war, so there was some
usual recognize him as thin in this picture.
I know. Yeah, he ballooned.
As a young man,
he didn't have to fit into a little thin fighter plane later in life.
Yeah.
So quite a few out there. Definitely check those out from our friends at Scalemates, which I love for tracking your stash and new things.
Do you use the stash collection thing?
I need to use it more. I need to take the time and enter all my stuff. I'd probably scare myself.
Scared straight.
Or you know what? There's probably some people that think that'd be great, but if my wife finds out,
oh my!
I'm
documenting the evidence.
But you know
of
what?
The crime.
Like for example, my wife knits.
Yeah.
And there's a similar site called Ravelry, and people can put their stashes on there. And
I bet you there for every niche hobby or whatever, there's probably a type of software, but that seems like time you could better spend.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? Some people like that because if you go to a show. Maybe if you already have it, right?
That's true.
Or like a decal set or something. That's what people like about it.
Sure. I guess once if you get over 100 things,
if you get caught up, and then you just get in the habit like anything else. As something comes in or you sell something, you
There's my stash software.
You update it. Yeah.
I just look in the closet.
Well, you know what I used to just take a picture.
Yeah.
Of mine.
Oh, you know what? I have totally opened boxes and been like, oh, look at that. I didn't know I had that. Yeah. And I don't have a very big... I don't have a big stash.
Is small.
It's pretty tiny.
We've seen some pretty horrendous stashes.
I went to go buy... horrendous. I went to go buy the... Hasegawa put out a photo etch set for the Valkyries, for the Viet Phone Valkyries, and it's awesome, right? And I had put away my models for a while. I got them back out, and I was like, oh man, I want to buy a set for each one I have. I've got, I'm sure, a dozen. And just in case they stop making them or whatever, and they weren't very expensive. And so I was just looking through a box for fun.
Yeah.
And what was tucked away in there? Oh, look at this.
I know. And like, for example, I'm reviewing some of my 172nd, the smaller World War II stuff. I have two Tamiya Mosquitoes. And I opened one box and I bought the photo etch and the masking set.
You forgot about it.
Yeah. It's easy to do. So anyway,
there you go.
Look at that. All right. So that's all the news that's fit to print, display, talk about,
Absolutely.
whatever we use in this modern age.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a bit about our good sponsor, Goodman Models. You
right.
have a you're having all sorts of news. In some ways, it's kind of
Yeah.
a nice problem to have, but
Sure.
in other ways, it's
I've been sold out for like
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Popular.
So I'm all sold out of the sets, which are
I wonder if
the
that's
most
the
popular.
Goldfinch effect, the Dave Goldfinch
It
effect.
might be. You know
was
what?
talking
The
about
boys have been really
maybe.
generous. They
Yeah.
are both Dave and Ian bought a set.
Yes,
After I think maybe being a little bit skeptical, but that's fine.
that's fine. Ian was a bit, but he fully admitted and
They
he
checked it out.
He loved it. He
And they
loves
were
it. They
and
both
they're
love
using
it.
them, and they seem to be happy.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful to you guys for mentioning it, and I'm glad it's helping you.
That could be a thing.
build your
The
models.
Goldfinch effect.
Goldfinch effect.
Yeah, that could be something. There we
man,
go,
that
Dave.
could be a
if
title.
you market that, I want to cut.
That's the title of the episode that we do in the future.
Yeah, the Goldfinch effect. Okay.
So I'm
you're
all sold out of
You're
sets.
all sold out of sets right now, but you do have singles.
I do have, I got, I do have a bit of stock for
singles.
singles that can be ordered up directly from me, and I do have a
Some
box
factory
full of factory
seconds.
seconds,
Yeah,
and they are, I think I have all the grits right now.
So
They're
how would you describe the factory seconds?
factories? You know what? From what had happened is, I used to cut all the blocks myself, and I soon switched over to hiring the plastic manufacturer to do it.
Yeah.
But on occasion, the blade, it's a big 24-inch blade that cuts these things.
Oh, yeah.
And it would on occasion chip some of the corners.
Okay.
And I just didn't feel
Yeah,
right
you want to
about-
give a quality product.
Yeah, they should be all the same, and they look sharp. Anyway, so I end up with a box full of these sort of chipped corner. I pick them out and just set them aside. All mine are like chipped corners, so
Yeah,
I'd make myself
yeah.
something, or I try different ones
exactly,
or whatever. And I have a second set for my travel box when I go to
Right,
the club
right.
meeting. But I have a crap ton of them, so I decided actually to finish them up.
Mm-hmm.
So I did produce them, and I just thought, you know what? How about half price?
There you go.
They're
I think you threw a picture or
irregular-
two out on the Facebook
Yep,
page.
yeah.
So,
So I have those up.
yeah.
On,
Now, are they all the same size? Generally, or
they
is there
are
some
mostly,
that are...
but some of them are weird
You
sizes,
got
like
some
leftover
different- okay.
from when I was cutting them.
Yeah, so
maybe.
just kind of slightly, but pretty well mostly
Yeah.
the same. And all
So
the,
you're getting this. It's the same thing.
the
They're still
same
color
good product,
coded.
yep.
It's the same sandpaper.
Yep.
They're the same quality.
Yep.
They're all flat, but sometimes
Awesome.
they have a chipped. They might have a little bit of damage on the paper.
but
They
for
might have a
half
chipped
price.
corner
For half price for a chip corner.
for half prices.
You know, there you go.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
They just don't look as nice or pretty,
Yeah.
but they function the same way, and you
Perfect.
get a nice deal. So those are available, and I think I have all the grits in stock. I do have
Okay.
super sanding singles up for sale, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting on my supplier. And I think probably late October I'm going to have them back in stock, just in time for show
That's cool.
season.
And if you can't wait, I know there is some fine hobby shops.
Definitely, there are still places to get the super sanding value packs.
Right.
Section 8 Hobbies, Sunward Hobbies, Wheels and Wings in
Wings and
Toronto,
Wings, yep.
and our good friends at FlexiFile have them in
FlexiFile
stock,
have
so
them
you
as
can
well.
find them out there.
And if you do want to look at waiting or looking at the waiting for trying to get some of the seconds, you can. What's the website we can go to?
Yeah, check out goodmanmodels.com.
There you go.
And you'll find them in there.
All right, so check that out, and of course
Yeah.
we thank them for their support once again.
Yeah, and
I love
thank
I love
you.
speaking with you in the third person.
I'm right here, Stuart.
Oh, so you are. I better start
But thank
saying
you.
nasty
I
things.
do appreciate all the support I've gotten from the listeners.
Yep.
And
Well,
from
it's
you.
it's a
and,
great product.
All the people we've met.
Absolutely a great product.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we actually have an interview. So again, it's going to be a super long show again. And this is Anthony did this one solo because I wasn't available.
That's
so
right.
I'm just going to let you do a quick intro, and then we'll just
Yeah.
go right on to airing the interview.
That's right. So Stuart was disposed on a secret mission in the jungle. I had to take over,
Top
and
secret.
and I managed to connect with Brett Trainer, and he has a company called Return to Kit Form, and he's based in Australia, and really interesting guy. He is doing some cool resin casting of Macross. So it's a really interesting story. He's connected with John Moscato, who was a master modeler.
We had a great interview with John.
Yep. So hopefully the listeners have heard that. But he was creating masters. He was doing resin, making his own kits, but I think he maybe got a little busy and ended up selling some. And Brett has decided to get into
that for
into the resin
for
casting.
certain subjects.
Yeah, so he's partnered
topics,
up. Yeah, right. And he's obviously a huge Macross fan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll even admit he's a bigger Macross fan than me.
Holy cow! Holy cow!
Can you imagine?
I can't imagine that.
But we had an awesome chat about working having a company, doing resin casting, getting in the garage kit business, which is awesome and it's fascinating. So I hope you enjoy that and,
cool.
and have a good listen.
And here we go.
Okay, welcome to the interview portion of the Scale Model podcast. This is Anthony. I'm on my own tonight. Stuart's taking a well-deserved break. And I have a special guest with me this evening. It's going to be a very interesting chat. I have Brett Trainer of Return to Kit Form. So Brett is a scale model enthusiast, and he returned to scale modeling in early 2000 with a love for all plastic things from sci-fi to armor to fantasy figures. And around 2015, Brett discovered John Moscato was selling masters to rare Macross garage kits and decided to dive into resin casting as a side business. He set about learning the skills and techniques and launched Return to Kit Form with his wife's help. His first release was the Neural Fighter for Macross, and that was in 2017. Welcome to the show, Brett. How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Anthony? Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm a huge Macross fan. I've been following what you've been doing almost from your inception, I think, and I've actually got a couple of your products. So, but let's talk about back a few years ago now. When did you first get into the hobby?
First into the hobby, I guess the first time around was like most people, when I was a kid.
Yes. And then you stepped aside, you stepped away and got busy with life, and then you came back kind of in the early 2000s. So was it right into Macross, or were you building different things?
Yeah, no, it was right into Macross. When I started my full-time job, we had access to the internet at a time when dial-up was still a thing.
Yeah.
So in downtime, I would overload on searching Macross stuff on Google and discovered Hasegawa's VF1A in 72 scale.
Yeah, and, it's surprising how that's like now. Man, it's like a 20-year-old kit, right? But it's so good.
Oh, it was state of the art in the early 2000s, and my mind was blown, and that was it. I was hooked.
Me too. That's amazing. So, and then so you were building for a while, and then you decided that, hey, I'm going to get into the business side. So, let's back up to that period. So what made you kind of decide to take that leap?
Well, I guess it was the fact that I saw that John was selling patents for the Neural, the Regault battle pod, and what else was he selling? I think that was it at the time. Mm-hmm. I'd noticed he'd sold some of his other stuff as well, and I was in a period of my full-time job where it wasn't that satisfying, and thought I'd take on some new challenges.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a pretty big. Yeah, that's a pretty big step to kind of go from your hobby life to kind of deciding to make it into a business thing. So, what were some of the challenges early on with kind of trying to make that happen?
Okay, so the early challenges, because there are so many, and they continue today.
Yeah.
But, so I guess the early challenges were learning those skills, and there was quite a bit of product wasted, molding rubber and resin and so on, as I kind of learned the limitations of those materials.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily have access to anyone to show me what to do, one-on-one or do a course or anything. So it was all kind of self-taught, and hitting Google and YouTube and finding out stuff. And also John himself is very good with sharing knowledge.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's great. We did an amazing interview with John a couple weeks ago that's going to be out, and we did talk a little bit about his process, and it's quite interesting. Now, were you an experienced resin model kit builder before you decided to kind of take on it as a side business?
I wouldn't say experienced. I did have a couple of John's kits. I had the Scout version of the pod that he
Okay.
made. My first resin kit was actually his atmospheric booster, which was released under the Samurai Monkey label back in the
Yes,
day.
that's the one I
That was
have.
that was my first resin kit that I actually tried to build.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't say experience, but I did have a couple. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. That's right on. And I've actually a couple years ago you put out canopy masks for the Hasegawa Valkyrie kits, and I did buy a couple of them, and I haven't used them yet, but I'm excited to try them out. How did you get into that project?
That was simply filling a need. I've got quite a few Valkyrie kits of all of the different types on the shelf, and a frustrating thing about it is the tedious masking process. And, I was thinking that surely somebody must have made a masking kit for these kits by now, and Googled it, and there was pretty much nothing. I think there was one guy in Japan who might have made something,
Oh
but
yeah.
it wasn't readily available. You kind of had to go through a third-party buyer to get those. And I thought, well, hey, how hard can it be? Other people do it. So I just dived right in.
That's awesome. So, did you produce that with like how did you go about the actual process of developing that without giving us any trade secrets, but is it done up in CAD and then sort of laser cut, or how do you make a mask?
So yeah, it's basically just developing the file in a vector program. I use Corel, and then yeah, my early ones were basically I just took the material that I had used to mask out the canopy, laid it flat,
Hmm.
scanned that in, traced it into a vector format, and then cut it on a plotter. So
Okay.
I use a silhouette as a plotter to cut some masking material, and then working out where it doesn't fit and test and adjust until it fits.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very cool. I gotta say I'm very excited to use them myself because I on my Angel Bird project I must have used, I think, three canopy decals from like three different sheets to kind of make it work. They were just brutal. Like they didn't want
Uh,
to, and I didn't paint it. I don't know. I think I tried painting one, and I also blew through a few canopies to get that one perfect canopy. But yeah, that's really cool. Um,
yeah,
now
those
that,
decals are brutal.
yeah,
I tried to use them once, and then it just. I have seen people use them. There's a Canadian modeler, William Cheng,
yes,
who makes it work somehow. I don't know, some sort of magic
yeah, I ended up
process you have.
for the canopy mask. I ended up taking like two different sheets worth of, so I had two sets of the canopy frames, and I cut them into small segments, like after discovering it wasn't going to work the way they kind of intended. And then I got it to work, but I had to sacrifice a second. Good thing I had 20 Valkyrie kits, right?
Spares. Until you get to the last one and you realize you don't have any decals left.
Yeah, I have a box full of just strictly Valkyrie parts, like spares to I pull out from there all the
Yeah, yeah.
time.
But yeah, no, after that first attempt with those decals, it was like, no, there's got to be a better way. So I was just masking for a couple of kits, and then it was just, I don't have a lot of time for modeling, and I don't really want to waste it cutting out little bits of tape. And I thought, no, well, let's make one of these kits, and maybe other people will need them as well. So.
That's amazing. So how have you found the reception is to that product out kind of in the world and in the marketplace?
Well, we're lucky enough to be picked up by a distributor, and we're on HobbyLink Japan.
Very exciting.
And yeah, it is. When you first go to the website, go to HobbyLink Japan and see your stuff up there on a international, a site with international reputation, and your gear is on there. That's a proud moment. So
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
absolutely. Yeah, congratulations. That's very cool. I went and saw your stuff up there, and I thought that was really neat because we were talking earlier. HobbyLink Japan was kind of like a huge awakening for animation modelers, or I don't know what you call it, like Japanese science fiction modelers. That was the place I first was able to actually get some kits of the subjects that I wanted to build. So very cool. Good on you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We sell, I'd say, a moderate uptake.
Yeah.
I'm not being flooded with orders, but
Hmm.
it's worthwhile. And we don't really make this. We're not trying to make a fortune with this, because you quickly find out that the way to a small fortune is to start with a big one, and
Yes.
and really it's just about having something to do that's a little bit bigger than the everyday, and helping people to build their kits.
Absolutely. I feel exactly the same way with my own little side project with the Super Saiyan block. So that's very cool. So now let's your latest release is the Norbert the male power armor resin kit, right? And you obviously you had worked with John before, John Moscato, producing kind of his masters. So this was like a unique partnership between you and him. Yeah. So how did you you connected with John for the original purchase of the molds, but it sounds like your partnership is continuing on.
So with the first time I had any direct dealings with John was the atmospheric booster kit. Which I think was, I think 2004. He might have released that kit.
Okay.
And he didn't actually cast the kits, and he kind of made the patterns, but somebody else cast the kits, and I got a copy that was a little bit less than what I expected. And
really?
I emailed John to say, hey, this is what I've got. What should I do here? And he was very generous in sending me basically a complete new kit.
Oh, wow.
Free of charge. There were just a couple of little pieces I had to use from the original one, and that level of customer service really struck me. I had not experienced that before.
Absolutely.
And that's it. I was hooked.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, no, I have a Samurai, was it Samurai Monkey?
Yeah.
Version of that kit. I think I got it around 2006. So, I mean, to me, it was a very beautiful resin specimen. And my experience with resin over the years was that a lot of it is not of good quality. Like I've looked at kits and thought, you know what, it's unbuildable, and why would I spend any money on it? So, certainly his masters are incredible, and that's a real testament to his character for sure. That's awesome. And will you be continuing to work with John in the future? Can you give us any sneak peeks about things that you think might be upcoming, or?
Well, I have approached John regarding a future project, so I won't go into quite what that is yet, but
right.
it'll be it'll be an expansion or a conversion set for one of our existing releases, which will be the first actual collaboration between John and ourselves.
Cool. Well, we'll be definitely looking out for that. That's awesome. So is there a particular moment that stands out as, the sort of memorable highlight sort of during your professional hobby career so far?
Try to think. Certainly the getting our kits on HobbyLink Japan is one, but I think the positive feedback we've gotten, quite. These things are handmade, and it's hard to keep things consistent, but we try our best.
Yeah.
And we generally get positive feedback, and that's really while not a singular defining moment, but just knowing that we can build, produce stuff that people can build. Because like you, I've got resin kits that are unbuildable. They cost a lot.
Yeah.
You end up with something that sits on the shelf because it's just too hard.
Yeah. It's
and
kind
we
of
don't want.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and we don't want that. We want people to build their kits. We want it to make it as easy as possible for people to get stuck straight in.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. And I know what you're talking about. That's great. So you're fairly new to the garage industry, and have you seen how it's been changing? Or, I mean, you obviously were familiar with sort of the modeling world as like a builder on that side of it. How do you see it changing?
I think the advent of 3D printing and the readily accessible CAD programs, I think, are just changing things in a way that, I don't think we really comprehend just yet. I think in about 10 years, things are going to be very interesting.
Cool.
Because when you're doing things by hand, like the way John does, I mean, he's milling, he's lathing, he's hand sanding to get these shapes that are often opposite to each other. If you can imagine, it's and they're symmetrical. To do that by hand is quite a unique skill. These days, using CAD programming, it's easier. I'm not going to say it's easy because I can't do it, but and then you don't have to worry about making those in the physical form because you can print them out with really high quality 3D resin printers, and I think that makes things a lot more. It's easy. There's a lower barrier to entry for that kind of thing.
Yeah, interesting. Do you foresee Return to Kit Form starting to utilize some of these 3D printing technologies? Is that something you want to get into, or are you just sort of happy to kind of work in the same framework that you have now?
No, we absolutely want to get into that. It's just a matter of time and capital. Where we've got to get to a point where it becomes viable. But also we have to make decisions on how many product lines we're going to carry, because this is a second job for us, and we don't want it to take over all of our spare time. So
I know how you feel. You sort of have to be very choosy about the type of project you want to get out. That's really cool. I guess that sort of ties into another question that we love to ask our guests all the time, and you're sort of touching on it. Where do you see the hobby in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think we're going to see plastic kits. I think are never going to go away. It's just the cheapest way to mass produce a kit. But just like resin, cast resin started to creep their way into popular releases. Eduard and even Hasegawa, to a limited extent, have resin parts in their kits. I think we're going to start to see more and more 3D printed parts put in there with a level of fidelity that is going to be pretty amazing, I think. I always look forward to the technological changes in the way kits are produced. It's just fascinating to see stuff. Like right now, I'm building some older stuff just because I want to work on some of the kits that I've sort of been have been sitting in my collection for such a long time. But we're seeing new, really cool, technological developments like slide molding. And did you see the Wave Lightning 3? I've actually got one, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that? So for our listeners, there's a company in Japan called Wave. They've got a licensed Macross jet, the VF4G Lightning. And so this came out, I think, last year. Was it 2018? Or 2017?
The year before.
Yeah, maybe 2017. So fairly state of the art. And I was just blown away and opened the box where the canopy frame is one piece and the glass is a separate piece. So it's just, right there, you can just see the ease of assembling that. And then the nose cone is a slide molded single piece too, right? Because that's always one of the challenges, like working on airplane fuselages, canopies. It's just amazing all the stuff that's happening right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the Hasegawa VF1, one of the complaints that was leveled at that kit was the seam line that runs down the canopy.
Yes. Yeah.
But that was necessary in those days because of the slide molding, I guess, wasn't really a thing. But to get that bubble shape, it needed to have that seam. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with slide molding now, they can produce all sorts of really intricate parts in a single piece.
Yeah, that's just quite amazing, that technology. Okay, so we did go over. I think I had a question here about how did you get your products into HobbyLink Japan? Could you tell us a little bit more about that process of connecting with a major distributor like that?
Yeah, it was really as simple as just sending off an email. I had thought about perhaps how can we tap into a larger market, and just sent a message off to HobbyLink Japan, who referred me to their distributor, Beaver Corporation, and yeah, the guys there were really friendly, really helpful, and we sent out a couple of samples. They liked what they saw, and then they placed an order.
That's really amazing. Simple. Yeah, very well. That's amazing. Good for you. So now I think we always like to let our listeners sort of in on, the behind the scenes of the industry. Can you tell us a little bit about your resin casting shop and how it's set up, and just a little bit about the process of making? I think a lot of people don't know how these things are made, and just how much sort of blood, sweat, and tears can go into the process.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different processes for resin casting. There's two-part molds, compound molds, there's single-piece molds. So really it's about finding what works for you and for what we do, and we kind of imitate John Moscato's process, because he's built the patterns in such a way that it facilitates this kind of easy one-piece mold type process. So essentially, we just we put it on a flat surface, put a bunch of parts in a single mold box, seal it up, and just do a single piece mold, and then cut each individual part out, and do it that way. And that allows us to produce molds fairly quickly that have good detail reproduction and the finest seam lines that we can manage.
That's awesome. And then you for the casting process, usually the resins are a two-part, right?
Yeah, resins are an interesting problem that we have in Australia, because a lot of the resins that are available are the 5-minute type.
Oh wow! Yeah,
which are not easy to use, and in fact our interceptor kit, the Knurl, was produced using that 5-minute resin, and that caused a lot of headaches. And so I searched around, managed to find a distributor in Australia for Smooth-On 300 series resin.
Yep.
And that's what we use now. So it's a two-part. We use 310. Just gives us a longer working time.
Yeah, you have to work really quick once you pour them together. You got to stir them and get them poured before they start to set off. Yeah, that's for our listeners, if you're not familiar with that process, it's the resins are, I think it's a hardener and then a resin, and it's sort of a chemical reaction, but they have to be mixed very thoroughly, or you get like the problem with a model kit that sort of bleeds forever.
Yeah, or it's kind of a rubbery substance that doesn't sand very well and droop over time. So you have to make sure that they're thoroughly mixed together. I usually add a little bit of black pigment into one half of the resin, so that I can tell when it's thoroughly stirred up, and then we pour into our molds, and then pressure cast to make sure that there's as few bubbles as possible.
Yeah, so the bubbles will rise to the top and out the mold, and it's very cool. Let's see. Now I did ask you about any future projects you might have coming up, and it sounds like you're gonna keep going strong. Let's see here. We talked about the future of the hobby, and we talked about your own developments. Trying to think, is there anything else you'd like to get into, Brett? I think I might get Stu to cut out a little bit of that. Any other, like, do you want to?
I actually want to get back to the bench. I find that the business is, because I'm a builder at heart, so I think I want to get back to the bench. So when we first kicked off the business, I had this enormous list of, it would be so cool to make kits in this scale and of this subject, but I realized that I have to limit the scope of what it is we're going to cover. Otherwise, I'm just not going to be able to get back to the bench.
Yeah, I think that's a common problem for as soon as you sort of monetize your hobby, right? That you all of a sudden you find all your time is dedicated to kind of launching this project, right? But then you sort of lose sight of why we're into it in the first place. So what are some of the exciting projects that you're working on your own bench?
Oh, I'm a serial one for not finishing projects, so there are a lot on my bench right now.
I think everybody struggles with that, right?
But it doesn't help that I don't have a lot of time for painting, but I seem to have a lot of time for assembling. Going away on work trips and things like that, I can usually take a kit and start prepping parts and whatnot. I guess the major ones on the bench right now are actually all of the kits that we sell, because we need to have some built up so that we can have some finished photos so people know what the finished product's going to look like.
Yeah.
So I'm building a lot of resin kits, which is good. My resin kit skills are getting sharp.
Nice.
And then I've got a Hella 135 scale VBCI, the 8-wheeled APC on the bench. That's almost finished.
Is that Australian armor?
No, that's a French armored vehicle.
Oh, okay. All right. Very cool.
Um,
So you've built all your promo models. You're the actual for like the box art and that kind of thing. You've built them all.
Well, in the process of building them all, yeah. That's unfortunate that we had to release them without kits being built, as an example. But we've got to get on with releasing the kits, and we'll fill the gaps. And when we re-release the kits in the future, they'll have pictures of the actual product built on the label. So
now that hasn't interfered with like creating all the instruction sheets that go with kits, that you can still shoot sort of photos of that in like the progress steps with just the resin unpainted resin pieces.
Yeah, so I think the first kit we used John. When you buy John's patent, you get everything. You get his instructions. You can use his promo photos, all that kind of thing.
Okay.
So we used some of that material to compile our instructions, and then later kits we took our own photos for the assembly process. And it did kind of limit us when it came to color finishing options and decal placement, because we didn't have any photos of that. So the future releases will have that put into the instructions.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it's just something you run into, right? All these challenges you have to work out. Well, that's very exciting. Awesome. Well, I think is there anything else that you'd like to go over or to discuss in all your resin adventures?
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I guess one thing to consider that both myself and John run into is that resin kits are often expensive.
Yes.
And
that's a good point.
Yeah, they're expensive, and there's a reason they're expensive, and it's because of the materials.
Yes, there's not cheap to pour rubber, is it?
No, it's not. And I mean, we haven't, out of all the kits we've sold, we haven't made any profit at all yet. So
really, wow,
no,
that's tough. So you gotta get some numbers to cover the costs. Wow, I think that's kind of a bit of something for our listeners that aren't familiar with that. And you do see those prices and you wonder why are they so expensive? Yeah, that's really difficult.
Particularly out here in Australia, it's the materials are very expensive.
Yeah, really. It's just more in terms of shipping, like getting the stuff imported.
I think so. I think it's also a limited. There's only one place that sells the resin that we use, so they don't really have any competition, so they can just charge what they like for it.
I see. Yeah. Well, sorry.
Yeah, we can't parallel import it either because it's a dangerous good. So.
Yes, yeah, that's really changed kind of the international shipping world, right? Like I remember just buying paints, like the lacquer paints from Hobbyling Japan, in fact, and then they were not available anymore, so I had to kind of run around looking for somebody who was into that end of the import, export, and sale. Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, now resin kits they take a lot of time to produce. The materials are very expensive to get, and even the equipment you need, like pressure pots and all that stuff, there's quite a few aspects to consider to get in there. So do you expect that eventually you're hoping to turn a profit, right?
Well, it would be nice. It would be nice to think that I'm not giving all the hours away for free. But I mean, it's just a fun thing, and you know, the kits that we cover, you can't get them in plastic. Not in this scale, anyway. No. So it's just a fun thing that we can put some stuff out there in the same scale as all the Hasegawa stuff and some of the Bandai stuff.
Yeah, it's very cool because a lot of those, certainly for the subject matter, there hasn't been a lot of attention paid to sort of the Zentran, like sort of the bad guy, power suits and that kind of thing. They really are sort of a big glaring hole in kind of the production of Macross models over 30 years.
Yeah, they are, and I'm not really sure why, because it seems that every time something comes out, it seems to sell fairly well. Um,
Yeah.
Even our stuff, it sells well enough for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe the scaling issue. That's a question we get a lot. Is our stuff really 70-second scale, because it looks like it should be bigger or it should be smaller or whatever? But the vagaries of 1980s animation plays a part there.
Oh, of course, and we had a really interesting chat with John about how to commit, a proportion and a scale, and he talked about using, the old Macross model books and Hobby Japan, those old references, right? The art books to try and pin down something. But yeah, a lot of those suits are very large, compared to like a Valkyrie. And I think that's why they original model companies produced them in like 1/24/4 scale instead of like 70-second. So,
yeah, that's right.
But they're very impressive.
Our kits come out at around about 255 millimeters tall.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot of resin. And even the prices that we charge are not outrageous. I recently bought the Moose kit from Weta Workshop.
Okay.
Have you seen Chappie, the movie Chappie?
Oh yes, I've actually never seen it, but I know that the robot character you're referring to.
Yeah, the big sort of hunched over robot. I bought that from Weta Workshop, and that was 2 or 3 times as expensive, and it's a good sized kit. But I bought that mainly so that I could see what a company at the top of their game would be like, and I was happy to see that our stuff is pretty close to what they're putting out. So that made me
That's awesome. Yeah, because Weta Workshop would be, I would probably gotta say they're one of the sort of most cutting edge producers of model kits today right now. So that's excellent. Yeah. Very cool. So, well, we want to thank you very much for coming on, Brett. It was really great to talk to you. Wish you the best of success with your endeavor here, and we hope to see more Macross kits coming out from your way.
Yeah, thank you. We've got a couple of more things in the pipeline, and definitely more Canopy masks to come yet. There's a big backlog of projects that need to be covered.
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to see VE1 and VT1 mask myself personally. So they must be on the.
We were supposed to do those already, and then when I went to do them, I realized I didn't have a kit to actually pattern the masks off.
Yep.
So I had to move on to the next one, which was the VF1D. So we'll get around to it eventually.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much, Brett, and we hope to talk to you again in the future.
Thanks very much, Anthony, and thank you for having me on.
Okay, thanks.
All right, that was an absolutely awesome interview.
Yeah, what a great guy, and thanks to Brett for...
And you were great. Your solo effort.
I did it.
You did fantastic. Okay, moving on. Talking tools. This is my turn. So this,
what are you bringing to the bench?
I'm bringing a paint stirrer. Some people may call it a milk frother, but I'll call it a paint stirrer. Mm-hmm. So this is for, we were talking about the paint shaker earlier. Mm-hmm. This is for people who use a lot of the wide mouth glass bottles like Tamiya and Mr. Color and that. So basically it's a little motor with a long piece of metal and a unique little stirring thing that you basically open your paint, put it in, fire it up, and away you go. Stir the paint, make sure you turn it off before you take the thing out, or else you'll be wearing it. But yeah, these are actually very, very good. I've heard about these for years. I picked up, there's mainly 2 in the modeling world now. Again, like anything else, some people have made their own homemade ones.
Sure. But
both Badger and Trumpeter make these. I picked up the Trumpeter one just because
it's
the same
same
sort of
model,
idea. They look slightly different.
They're different versions.
But similar idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Battery operated.
Same function.
Same function. Generally, if you're in the U.S., North America, you can find the Badger one usually easier and cheaper. Mm-hmm. Where if you're overseas, the Trumpeter one seems to be easier to find.
Right. Yeah.
I got the Trumpeter one just because I was doing an order from the U.K. from Hannets, and they had a sale on them, and
threw it in.
I threw it in. It's great.
You loving it?
I love it. So what's great about this is great for airbrushing and that, because we all shake our paints, but the thing about especially the wide mouth, what I call the wide mouth bottles,
Yeah.
of jars
the
of
typical
paint.
glass, like
Glass jar, Tamiya, yeah. Mr. Color is that you can shake it, but then it gets a lot of crap on the lid.
and you got to clean it.
You got to clean it.
Yeah.
So this is nice because basically you don't have to shake it. You open it up, you put the thing in,
Right.
hit the stir, move it up and down a little bit. Like I say, some people will remind them of like those basic. You know, it almost looks like one of those little power mixers you'd use in your soup, sort of thing when you're cooking.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, you put it in, mix it up a little bit, and then again take it out. Make sure you turn it off first.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you're gonna get
absolutely.
you're gonna get a ring of paint.
You know what? I actually, now that you mentioned it, stirring paint is kind of like
It's very important.
one of the worst. It's absolutely essential, but it's kind of one of the worst jobs.
And the thing, what I like about it is, again, it's solid metal. It cleans well. But what I do is, especially if I'm airbrushing, I'll stir it. You always have some left on it, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But what I'll do is I'll put it over the mixing cup I'm going to use, and I'll start with my thinner just over that. That takes a little bit if you really want to
carry all
at
the
least
extra
carry. You
pigment.
get a little bit of paint there if you really want.
Very
but
efficient.
it does take a lot. There's not much left because like if you just raise it slightly above the paint while it's still in the jar, and just leave it on, it throws most of it off against the jar.
You're not losing
And then
anything.
you're not losing a lot. But again, you do notice a difference. And as you say, you don't have to clean the
lid. Yeah, that actually
clean
sounds
the
really
lid.
nice.
So I just had a look. So for example, if you wanted to get it, it's around 20 bucks, either of them.
So that's
I know
pretty,
the trumpeters.
Yeah.
I know the trumpeter ones on Amazon. I see here from a third party for 22. I know the Badger you can get locally. I know the local stores will order it in.
Let's say $20 to $30
if
perhaps.
that.
Yeah.
If that.
That's
So
awesome.
definitely something to check out. And again, especially if you use, like I say, if you use more of the Tamiya colors and the glass jars, like
or
you
like
and I
Model
both
Master
do.
and
Model Master,
testers even.
Yeah, it'll fit into a tester's jar. It'll be a little bit
Yeah.
tight for a tester's, but it should
We
work.
do the trick.
Yeah, I haven't used it myself
Wow.
personally for a
This
tester's.
Those testers. I haven't seen those testers around.
Well, I still have a couple around somewhere.
I'm
It's one of those things you go, well, I just haven't bothered to throw them out. Isn't it?
I got rid of all that stuff. The
I
Model
know.
Master and the testers.
It's weird. I don't know why I didn't
Adios.
bother. I'm just looking up the Badger one because I closed the tab. So Amazon Canada, yeah, 21 with shipping. But again, you can actually two AA batteries. Yeah.
What happens if you have a ball bearing already? Maybe
Again, I
Not-
wouldn't
not
use it with a ball
recommended.
bearing in a glass jar. Yeah,
Okay.
take the ball bearing out because this thing spins
you
pretty
wouldn't.
quick.
So you wouldn't need the ball bearings.
You wouldn't need the ball
or you
bearing
could not
because
use
you're
the
not.
stir.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, the only disadvantage of these is you can't use them with like the eyedropper bottles. The Vallejo and
So your Vallejo. Is there anyone else who does it?
Meg. There's actually
Ammo
quite a
has
few.
a-
Army Painter. There's actually quite a
Life
few.
Color, I think, is like that too.
I don't remember, but there's actually quite a few brands that use it. And see, a
droppers.
lot of people, the brush painters like it because I like it too because
Yeah.
you can put just a drop on the palette.
It must be really easy for making ratios too. right?
Exactly,
I need 2
and this
drops
is
of
where
this
people
color,
like
2 drops
those.
of that.
The eyedropper bottles are actually quite good
Huh.
in that way.
Cool.
But again, just
Not
there's
going to
different.
work with your paint stir.
Not this particular one, but again, use what you have. But yeah, these are awesome, and
Cool.
I thoroughly recommend it. I've used mine. I've had my trumpeter one for 5 years. I haven't had to change the batteries yet. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
all right, there we go. So, moving on. What's on the bench?
What are you working on, Stu?
Spitfires all together.
Yeah.
I've just got to put things like masking the canopy,
the fun stuff.
detailing the landing gear. I'm actually taking a little break.
Little break?
Yeah, put it back in the box for now. That's fine. Just
Yeah.
because I really was getting excited about our club build. I did the King Tiger Toon tank.
Yeah.
So that was all built.
You bet you're well into that, so it's a small
It's pretty
kit,
well done.
small project.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
but
knock
it's
it out.
fun. It's fun. Been playing around. I actually did the actual scheme, and I thought it was done, but then I kind of bollocksed it up near the end.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing with my new not my new, but I hadn't used the Sotar 2020,
Yeah.
and I just had the ratio wrong. So I'll repaint it again.
Oh yeah, you can.
Fine.
That happens all the time.
But again, good little fun thing. So yeah, I'm not
Are you
sure
gonna
what
weather
we're
that little tank or not?
Probably
so
not.
much?
No, I'm doing it as a quote unquote tiger meat. How the
Yes.
aircraft have tiger meats.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. It's like a tank tiger meat. So probably not. Not going to spend a lot of time. So what about you?
I've been really working on the base and groundwork for my Aliens APC, and I've been following the wonderful and legendary Dave Brown
Yes.
He made a really cool series about World War II tanks, and they're really. I believe that we did link to them.
We did. Yeah, Dave's. We did a good series. Yeah.
He's got a great series. So I've actually been sort of really going through that and trying to follow some of his suggestions and methods. And I know he was really inspired by Shep Payne.
Yep.
And obviously one of the legends of the modeling world.
Of the industry, yeah.
So I've been doing that, and I'm kind of covering again ground I haven't covered before. So it's hey, it's going slowly. Big surprise.
Okay.
But and I'm weathering up the APC. It's done.
Right.
It's really almost done. Like
Good.
the decals are on it.
Good.
I got to add some stowage.
Looking good.
And I'm trying to do a little bit of weathering on it, which again I haven't ever gotten that far before on a project. So I'm doing that. And hopefully it's going to come together, and then I'm going to really throw myself into the Moosearoo Cup Challenge.
Because you know people are asking.
The challenge is not dead.
People are asking. They haven't quite mocked us yet, but
Yeah. I'll let them mock. It's a model. It's not meant to be built fast.
I know exactly.
It's a fast car.
It's a fast car. That's
Slow
right.
model.
Okay. So sites and tips.
Yeah. I found something.
You found
we were
something.
talking about, for the listeners out there, we were trying to share the love.
Yes.
Every show can't be about Macross.
I had to tell him that, folks.
He told me. He laid down the rules.
I laid down the law.
So anyway, we wanted to cover. We always want to cover the different facets, and we're trying to reach out to different people and show the variety of what's happening in the world and in the industry. So for this sites and tips, I've added the Boulder Creek Railroad.com.
Okay.
This site is run by Luke Towan, and he is doing just the most incredible model railroading and slash dioramas.
Right.
And the site, it's amazing. He's got a whole series of YouTube videos, and you can find them all on his webpage. And he does a lot of how-to techniques and tutorials.
Yes,
and they are
I recognize
really
a couple of the work, and I've actually I maybe subscribed to him on YouTube.
I did.
Yeah.
And he'll do a lot of like a not step by step, but like he shows the whole process.
The whole process of it.
And it's like mesmerizing. It's so cool to watch him whip up. He'll do little dioramas.
Yeah,
or
that's
like
what
slices.
I like about it. Yeah, and I remember.
Yeah.
The one I remember was the one of like a house on a cliff, suburban house.
Yeah.
And
he
it's
does
even got like little the grave site. You've got a little grave below. It's like a cutaway. Yeah.
He covers a lot of different like terrain. So like that's what caught my eye. I think I was looking up how
some of the
to
terrain.
terrains,
When I was
right?
first doing that, I was doing the same thing exactly.
And it's just really awesome stuff, and it's really worth having a look at, even if you're not into trains per se, but because his modeling work is so superb,
and you can use examples of that.
You can absolutely take skills from there.
With the model railroader.
Universal.
Your dad's a model railroader.
Yeah.
And different links, and I love following the model railroad industry.
Yeah.
It's very,
who doesn't love trains?
Yeah, well, it's got a very similar thing where to our industry, where we say people think it's dying and it's not.
Oh,
it's
no.
growing more and more.
And he's doing all kinds of cool stuff, very applicable skills to whatever models you're into. It's worth a look.
Cool.
And hopefully we can chat with him.
Yeah, so that's at www.bouldercreekrailroad.com. I know he's got a YouTube channel and all that. So.
Yeah, beautiful, really well produced videos. Are easy to watch, and you see some really cool techniques. So I've learned a lot.
He's got some neat things. I think he also did one of a mine, like a cutaway of a mine.
With lights.
And that was very cool, and I like that idea. That's given me some thoughts about that.
He's on my list.
There
we gotta chat with this fellow.
All right, well that's about it. So as usual, we've given you a long show, and we're gonna get this up as soon as we can.
Quality and quantity.
So again, don't forget to subscribe and let us know if you have any comments or suggestions at scalemodelpodcast@gmail.com. We do record roughly bi-weekly, and you can find us where all your fine quality podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/scalemodelpodcast. We do put some content out there. We love hearing comments. We love all your emails. In fact, just before we go, I was going to say we got an email just before air from our good friend Tony. Tony again. And, I had to say that just because I know David from On the Bench replied, and he says they're going to talk about the next one. So I had to get at least a little bit of a heads up just to wind them up. And speaking of David and the lads down there, if you want, because we go bi-weekly, if you still need your hobby podcast fix in our off weeks, make sure you tune in to On the Bench. Just do a Google search for On the Bench podcast.
Such a good listen.
It's such a good listen from the gang from Australia. They always have fascinating guests as well, and definitely check them out. And there's always good fun there.
Absolutely, it's the best thing to listen to when you want to actually get some work done on the bench.
Exactly.
Turn off the TV and pop on the bench.
Our podcast first, then theirs.
Yeah, and Scale Model Podcast.
Scale Model Podcast, On the Bench. Well, we're really, there's a couple, apparently, there's a couple of car podcasts. I'll have to find the links for those, for model cars.
Okay.
Not too many, but yeah, there's not many. And like I said, we really appreciate your support, and I know the guys down there do as well, and we're all one big community. Okay, so that's it for the Scale Model Podcast, episode 29. My name is Stuart Clark.
And I'm Anthony Goodman.
Thank you, and be well.